An ordinary salaryman dies one day and is reborn as the son of a noble. Although he isn't talented in magic or swordplay, he does have one skill that no one else possesses: appraisal. Using this ability, he can determine a person's current strength, how much potential they hold, and where their talents rest. Ars, an ordinary salaryman from Japan, is an ugly, pathetic loser who gets reincarnated with his previous life's memories. In his previous life, Ars spent most of his days shutting himself inside his tiny apartment and playing games on his computer. His poor diet and lifestyle caused him to suffer from an untimely heart attack, causing him to pass away. However, instead of being sent to heaven, he gets reincarnated as a newborn child in the year 212 years prior to the incident we just saw, who finds a red-haired man looking at him with a big wide smile upon. Seeing him open his eyes for the first time, Ars looks around to have a better understanding of where he is, when he suddenly notices that a dog with wings is flying in the air, which makes him assume that he is probably having a dream. While Ars is confused as to what in the world is happening, a maid comes before the red-haired woman, congratulating her on having a newborn boy, implying that the red-haired lady is Ars' mother in this life. Ars finally sees the reflection of himself in a mirror and becomes terrified completely upon realizing that he has been reincarnated as a newborn baby. 3 years later, after his birth in this noble, rich family, Ars reveals that he has matured a lot and spends most of his time in the library studying anything and everything about this new fantasy world. Not only that, at that age where I used to stare mindlessly at the TV screen with my mouth wide open, Ars claims to have mastered both reading and writing. As a result, he has also become greatly knowledgeable about this new world and its fundamental rule. According to Ars' knowledge, he is currently in the Summer Fourth Empire, which rules the entire continent of Summer Fourth. There were originally 7 total kingdoms in this empire, but one of them, named Anal, devoured the other 6 and renamed itself Summer Fourth. However, Ars doesn't know if there are any other continents in this world, as no one has yet made a world map of this Earth. So he is not even sure if he is on a parallel Earth, because none of Earth's continents look like a mashed burger patty. Anyway, just like any other fantasy world, magic also exists, and using a specific technique, a magic user can conjure mysterious phenomena and perform various magical spells. Moving on to Ars' family. He is born into the Lent family, which is a noble household that manages a small region of a few thousand peasants in a place called Lamberry. The Lent mansion is so big according to Ars that he thought it was a castle when he saw it for the first time. Their house has tons of servants who always look after everything and everyone in the loving family, and even a personal chef who cooks delicious meals for them every single day. But that's pretty ordinary to have for a rich, noble family. What's mind-boggling is the fact that Ars possesses a unique power that nobody else has before disclosing his power to us. Ars heads to the training grounds and uses his skill on one of the fighters at the arena. He finally discloses that he has the appraisal skill, which allows him to see a visual representation of the skills and the rank of the skill that the person appraised has. For example, Ars sees that the fighter using a spear has great potential in archery, with his being B, so he guides the fighter to fight with a bow, instead of wasting his time and energy on learning how to use a spear because of the young master's request. The fighter named Melee agrees to train with a bow, even though he has never shot an arrow in his life. The fighter Melee takes his first shot reluctantly and surprises everyone with a miraculous result, as he successfully hits the bullseye on his first try, as the others call it a fluke. Melee tries again and again, but each and every time he hits the bully, showcasing his talent in archery that Ars had detected, so thanks to Ars Millie, who originally stank badly at using spears, changes his fighting style and instantly becomes an important member of the military. The soldiers don't understand how Ars, a mere 3-year-old, was able to figure out that Maya would be better off using bow and arrow, as they question Ars about it. He simply lies to them, saying that his instincts told him that, and that is simply why he suggested Melee use a bow and arrow. The soldiers fall for Ars' lies and commend him, stating that his instincts are truly from out of the world. Rs's appraisal skill works greatly to bring out everyone's hidden potential. However, for some unknown reason, he has never been able to appraise himself, making him wonder if he possesses any potential at all, although it is a shame that he cannot do so. Ars moves on from it, as he is just a 3-year-old who has lots and lots to enjoy before getting serious with his life. At night, he enjoys a delicious dinner meal with his family. When his father mentions that he has learned at Ars discovering Mila's hidden talent for archery Ars, Father Raven Lent is a formidable strong man who rose from being a farmer to a noble using his martial prowess. As a matter of fact, Raven's prowess stat is so high that Eas believes that his father can take out 10 armed men single-handedly anyway. Raven tells Ars to master his mysterious instinct. That led him to discover Mia's hidden talent because it might come greatly handy for everyone. In their region, including the military, Eas understands that the responsibility of improving this region will eventually fall upon him, as he is the only child of Raven and will soon be the landlord of this place. So with that realization, Ars begins studying even more and more to learn everything about the Empire, and figures out in the process of doing so that the future ahead of him will be full of darkness. Apparently, the current ruler of the Summer Fourth Empire has gone completely corrupt and does nothing better than lays around in his castle, and because it has become public information, the peasants have begun revolting all over the country and are on the brink of a war that will eventually bring the Summer Fourth. Empires fall when the war will eventually break out in the future. Ars hopes to become the Lord so that he can lead his own forces into battle and come out victorious with a clean sweep. However, he is unsure whether he and ordinary salaryman who did nothing better than play games. His entire life will be able to keep the people of Lamberg safe from the other regions wanting to protect the people who have shown kindness to him. Ars gets filled with conviction and immediately heads out into the town, all by himself to find talents that will help prosper Lamberg further. The 3-year-old easily becomes the center of attention as no other child of the same age roams aimlessly without their parents. Ars focuses on his goal and begins to appraise the people around him, hoping to find a hidden gem amongst them. After looking for a while, he eventually becomes tired, both physically and mentally, as he fails to find anyone with proper talent. At that moment, he notices a young teenager being kicked out by a shop owner and refuses to sell him any food just because he is someone trafficked from a different continent. Eas buys the boy and offers him a loaf of bread, which he reluctantly begins to eat, with tears pouring out of his eyes. Ars uses his appraisal skill on the boy named Rietz and discovers that he possesses a rank skills and even incredibly strong as rank combat abilities, making him the perfect guy. That Ars was hoping to find Rietz thanks Ars for showing him this generosity and takes his leave. But Ars keeps following him and asks him to become his retainer, whose job it is to follow all of their clients' commands in exchange for money. Eas introduces himself as the son of the lord of this village and promises Rietz that he isn't joking around with him, because Ars is just 3 years old. Rietz doesn't believe in his words at all, so as he begins to leave again, Eas tries persuading him, offering him tons of delicious delicacies prepared by his family's personal chef. So Rietz finally takes the boy seriously with the only hope of getting more food, and he becomes baffled upon finding out that he is actually the son of the Lent family's head. They enter the house with Ars promising Rietz a good meal. However, Ars' servants do not show proper courtesy to Rietz and insult him for being poor, asking him to leave immediately. After finishing the servant's meal, Ars finds the prejudice against Rietz's race Merlin to be rather annoying. So he makes it clear to the butler and the maid that Rietz is his precious guest, telling them to treat him properly after giving them a good scolding. The Ame finally serves Rietz with a proper meal, and he enjoys everything gladly while eating. Ars asks Rietz how he ended up here and learns that Rietz was originally a member of a band of mercenaries in one of their battles. Most of Rietz's comrades lost their lives, so he had no other option but to run for his life, and ever since then, he has been wandering aimlessly in these lands, hoping to somehow survive where everyone judges you by your race and color. After having lunch with Rietz, Ars immediately takes him to his father to get his permission to let Rietz become his retainer. Raven immediately shows his disapproval, saying that even speaking to a Malkon is a foolish act. However, Ars claims that Rietz has incredible hidden talents and promises Raven that he will be of great use to them. Still, Raven believes that Malkin are inferior to the Summer Fourthen, so he calls Ars' claims to be a total bees and asks him again to the throw Rietz out to convince his father. Ars proposes that his father test Rietz' abilities himself, promising that he won't be let since his only son is insisting. Raven decides to test Rietz' abilities and tells Rietz to have a mock duel with him. To make their fight fair, Raven offers a handicap and proceeds to the training grounds for the mock duel. While he is heading there, Rietz stops Ars and asks him why he is trying to help him out, as he is failing to understand what this little boy's intentions are. Promises Rietz that he is not doing any of this out of pity, and he also promises that he truly wants him to become a retainer for House Lent. Reincarnates is more than happy to become a retainer, but it is such an unbelievable offer that he doesn't understand why Ars is doing such a favor for him. Ars explains that when he will become the lord of this land, eventually he will need a man like Reincarnates beside him, and that is why he is desperately trying to recruit him. Reincarnates understands the little boy's noble intentions and gets filled with conviction to do his best in the mock duel against Ravenland so that he can be Ars. Retainer Reincarnates enters the training grounds, a few minutes later immediately becoming the center of attention for the soldiers who cannot believe that a Malkin is being allowed to come there upon learning that it was Aris's idea to bring a Malkin here. They begin to wonder if the little boy is out of his mind. Raven prepares for the battle and asks his subordinates to bring an hourglass as he wants their duel to be done within a time range. Afterward, Raven presents Reincarnates with the condition that if he manages to land a single hit on him before the hourglass's time runs out, he will win the duel with both sides. Agreeing to the condition, the duel begins and Reincarnates immediately realizes the huge power difference between them. Reincarnates barely keeps the pace, and as time keeps running out, he improves the speed of his attacks and goes on par with Raven barely grazing one of his hair strands. That was, fortunately enough, to be counted as landing a hit on Raven, so Reincarnates wins the duel and gets allowed to become a soldier for Raven's army for now. Ars congratulates Reincarnates on winning and also thanks Raven for letting him stay. Raven acknowledges the instinct that is possesses and hopes that his son will become a great man. One day, Reincarnates eventually becomes Ars, retain and begins serving him happily, pledging to spend the rest of his life repaying Ars' generosity, which is letting him live a better life. Our episode begins with Reincarnates entering the kitchen and handing the cook that box, thanking him. The cook, in turn, thanks him and Reds offers to help without hesitation, feeding them delicious food consistently. Reds becomes a part of the family for months, training with the sword. He prefers to stay by Ars's side rather than engage in battles, and the lessons he receives greatly enhance his skills. He becomes one of the most educated individuals in Louvent House, accepted by all the household members and locals once they get to know him. Later we see Reds arriving alongside Ars, asking if the lesson is about to begin, to which Ars agrees and sits at the table. Reds then tells him about the continent of Samarforth, which originally comprised 7 kingdoms that united to form the Samarforth Empire. Kingdom Ansild lies across a strait from another continent, enabling it to engage in maritime trade with foreign nations. This consolidation of power was used to invade and occupy the remaining 6 kingdoms, with King Anthis Bidoras declaring himself emperor and renaming his kingdom the Samarforth Empire 203 years ago. As mentions learning this from his personal reading, and Reds informs him that the Samarforth Empire is currently in a dire state. Its current ruler is an 8-year-old child named Bidoras XII, with real power resting in the hands of his followers who are embroiled in factional competitions, undermining central authority. As the emperor's control diminishes, popular uprisings erupt everywhere, prompting provincial governors to rebel against royal rule and strengthen their local autonomy. Ars says these are just minor skirmishes for now, but even my father is sending me to take charge of them, and a bigger conflict will happen someday. I must prepare for that by using my strength to gather talented individuals by my side, preferably the best. Of course, we don't want it to escalate to war, but if a larger conflict occurs, where do you think it will start, Reincarnates? Reincarnates tells him it's likely to start in the Mesian province, as the current ruler, Amador Salamakia, is very old and in poor health. It's highly probable that he will pass away within the next few years, and this emperor has 2 sons. Usually, succession goes to the eldest son, but the younger one is more qualified. The ruler seems undecided about who should succeed him, and if he dies before making a decision, it will likely lead to war for sure. Even if he decides before his death, a war is probable anyway, as both brothers seem to desire the throne. Ars then asks which side his father will support if that happens. Reincarnates explains that his father believes the eldest son has the right to succession, but Riven, Sama, will ultimately decide which side to support. He understands because his father doesn't directly serve the ruler of Mesian. Instead, each province is divided into regions, and Lambrach falls under the Canary region, where Ars's father serves as its leader. Despite my skills in assessment being helpful in choosing who to support, if we write my address in a modern approach, it's likely to be Alambridge, Canary region, Mesian province, and Samarforth Empire. Ars then speaks to himself, saying his father is still alive, But he's just a child and Reds is the only good companion he has found so far. Even if my father is on the losing side. Ritz interrupts Ars and says this is an opportunity for us. Excelling in a big conflict means helping the Lord rise, making us stronger to increase the likelihood of achieving this outcome. He tells Ars that he will protect him and stay with him always, and the best way to protect him is to find suitable people. Ars thanks him and suggests they go to search for more individuals. Then they leave the house and find their father training with the sword. Ars comments that his father spends an exceptionally long time training with the sword because he anticipates an imminent war. He then asks his father where he's going, and Ars tells him that he will be exploring for more promising recruits. His father expresses his hope of finding a talented magic user, because magic will be a crucial asset in the upcoming battles, and he himself cannot use magic as proficiently, so he seeks someone skilled in it. He adds that the few who can use magic are not particularly gifted. Reds explains that magicians can tilt the balance of battle, so they will definitely need them. Is then reflects on a time when he tried using magic at his father's request. He connected a bead filled with red liquid to a strange device and said a short phrase, but he didn't succeed much in using magic, so his father didn't ask him to attempt it again since then. Back to reality, his father, Reincarnated Louvent, relies on you, Ars, he says, so you must do your best. The scene transitions to Ars riding a horse with Ritz and they converse. Ars, smiling, tells Ritz how much is expected of him, considering he's also talented in horseback, riding, and is a first-class knight. Ritz agrees, saying he loves riding horses, swimming, and battles, but let's talk about having a sorcerer by our side. It will make us more prepared for war because this sorcerer will greatly enhance our forces, all for the future of our country. Ars then speaks to himself, acknowledging that he must find the best candidate possible. The scene shifts now to the city of Castle Canary, that large and beautiful city with a population of about 50,000 people. Ars is surprised by the large number and says 50,000 equals 50 times my hometown of Lambrage. Ritz smiles and tells him they are now in the capital of the Canary region, and that castle is the headquarters of the Bress family, the ruling family of the area. It's an incredibly stunning castle, but more importantly, the people here are wealthy and possess a lot of money, which is what we want to provide for our country, Ambridge, someday. Then Ritz looks at him and says he's sure they will find an excellent candidate with so many people to choose from. Ars begins his search and evaluation using his left eye, while scanning left and right, observing the strength of the people. After more than an hour, Ars starts to feel discouraged as he hasn't found a promising person. They sit by the fountain, and Ars begins to talk about statistics, which consist of numerical values and rank efficiency. It seems their actual talent is the result of combining the two. Even if their statistics are high, it doesn't mean much without the appropriate efficiency. Ritz advises him not to rush, saying there's still plenty of time ahead. Ars smiles at him and says, "All right then, patience is the key to relief." The scene shifts as they continue down the road, and Ars stops on this street to find something strange. These people are from the poorer part of town, so Ars feels very sad for them. However, Ritz tells him not to be saddened, explaining that this is the way of the world. Some are rich, some are poor, some are strong, and some are weak. Not everyone can be wealthy, nor can everyone be poor. Ars then becomes very happy to see all this delicious food and calls out to a merchant who has a lot of dragon eggs. He asks if he wants a dragon as a pet, because these eggs are real and imported from the northern continent. Ars gets very excited and imagines himself flying on a dragon, so he tells the merchant to give him 3 and tries to take out the 3 silver coins from his bag. Suddenly, Ritz's servant bursts out in anger, drawing his sword on the merchant. He says, "Do you realize what you're doing by trying to cheat this boy?" Ars tries to stop his servant, but he pays no attention and continues confronting the cheating merchant. The servant tells the merchant that trade with the northern continent was halted last year, and smuggling is the only way to import goods. He also explains that dragon eggs won't hatch unless kept at high temperatures with darker and larger spots than what's seen in reference books. Furthermore, it's impossible for an ordinary seller to possess such a large quantity of rare dragon eggs. These are giant lizard eggs from the Ansel region. The merchant tries to refute his claims, but Ritz ignores him and demands his silence, warning him that the price of humiliating Ars-sama is death. This terrifies the merchant, and Ars intervenes, pulling his servant by his cloak and informing the merchant that he won't purchase anything. He pleads with the merchant not to harm him, admitting that it was his mistake due to ignorance. Ritz quickly bows to his master, apologizing and asking for forgiveness, stating that he has lost his senses and is ready to accept any punishment. Ars thanks Ritz sincerely for saving him, while internally wondering if Ritz will always act this way whenever deceived, encouraging himself to be more diligent in studying afterward. They continue sitting by the fountain, having their meal together, and Ars eagerly goes to fetch some delicious sweets. However, a bag of money he had with him suddenly spills out, attracting the attention of a thief who quickly snatches it and runs away. Ars gets greatly agitated, but before he can chase after the thief, Ritz's servant swiftly grabs him and rushes to catch the thief, who is incredibly fast. As Ars tries to grab the edges of the thief's clothes, his cloak falls, revealing that the thief is a woman. They continue chasing her down the blocked street, where other angry thieves await her. They berate her, calling her trash for trying to escape. One of the thieves strikes her, causing her to fall to the ground. Ars intervenes, stating that this small child is a prince and they can't hit a helpless girl like this. It's atrocious. This angers the thief, who attempts to strike the young boy, but Ritz stops him just in time. Grabbing his hands and urging him to keep his dirty hands away from Ars, the criminal tries to strike again, but Ritz blocks his every blow and delivers a punch to his stomach, causing him to fall to the ground and die. The remaining criminals try to attack Ritz, but to no avail as he easily knocks them all down. They quickly flee in fear of being killed. Ars checks on the girl and uses his assessment technique on her, finding that her magic proficiency is at an S level, her leadership at 92, and her agility at 116. Her abilities are incredibly impressive, and she's called Charlotte Wraith. Her prowess rivals that of her parents even during her teenage years. Despite her other abilities being at level D, which means she won't excel in combat that doesn't heavily rely on magic, it still implies that she possesses amazing magical strength. Ritz then asks her to return Ars's wallet immediately. Before the girl can do anything, Ars requests her to become his follower. Ritz asks him to be quiet because this girl is a thief and they won't benefit from her in any way. Ars responds that her talent in magic is amazing, unlike anything he's seen before. The girl asks him to stop mocking her as she'd prefer death over serving a child like him. Ars doesn't understand why she says this but is shocked by her words. She tells him that there are things she can't bear, to which Ars responds that her talent in magic is truly astonishing and there must be a way to convince her to join them. The girl doesn't understand anything he's saying because she's never used this kind of magic before. Ars then tells her that since she used to steal, it means she lived a very difficult life. But if she becomes his follower, she'll receive a good salary, meals, and live a much better life than this. The girl accuses him of speaking like a spoiled noble child and asks who gave them the right to look down on others. She knows very well they live a luxurious life. Convinced that they deserve their special status, she questions what they have achieved to deserve all this. Merely lucky at birth, and yet they act as if they are of lesser status. She's not interested in becoming a tool to protect their luxurious lifestyle. Gus responds angrily that he wasn't like them. He wants to create a city one day where people like her can live a stable life. The girl replied that as long as he has lived a life of luxury, he won't understand anything else. People like her spend their days in these alleys suffering from heat and shivering from cold, never knowing where their next meal will come from. She knows his purpose in this is to show everyone how kind and righteous he is, but she's not here to help anyone. Ritz retorted that he knows she suffers a lot, but theft is never a noble act. He then asked her to return Ars's wallet. The girl took out the wallet and said to him that he saved her from those men, and she doesn't want to owe anything to him. Ars looked at her hands and the wounds on them and asked about those people. She told him they were followers of a slave trader who caught her sneaking into a noble's store. They sold me to a slave trader. I managed to escape from him, but his foolish followers caught up to me. They must have thought I would fetch a high price because I'm beautiful, she explained. Ars suggested why she didn't leave the city after escaping. Shouldn't she try to get further away? She replied that she couldn't escape, revealing the children, who then approached Charlotte, asking why she had been gone for so long, expressing how they missed her. Ritz asked her about these children. She replied that they were like her, orphans without families, resorting to earning their daily bread on the streets. She couldn't escape and leave them behind. Ars said he wouldn't try to recruit her into their ranks. He then asked Ritz for his wallet and gave it to Charlotte. She remarked that Ars still tried to play the role of the good guy, but he gave it willingly. "Do not expect anything from me in return," she said, then left. Ars bid farewell to them, saying, "I couldn't keep her away from them." Later, we see Ars sitting alone on the balcony. Ritz said to him, "The nights are cold even in summer." "You should come in," he continued. "We've been in a situation similar to hers. This world isn't kind to those in the lower ranks. It's clear she received mistreatment from the nobles in the past, which is why she sees them as delinquents. But you're not like that. I know this better than anyone else." Ars replied, "At a certain point, I started to consider my distinct lifestyle as something I accept. I don't blame her for being angry with me. I want to improve the city's conditions." And she was right in what she said. Then Ars saw the children crying and running hurriedly. He asked them what was happening, and they replied they caught Charlotte. The episode ends here for today's anime. Stay tuned for the next episodes. Don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell to receive all the updates. Our episode begins today in the city of Kualat Kanari, where we see the girl Charlotte sitting alone in the street, speaking to herself in the cold. She mentions not having parents and being avoided by everyone in the street. When she asks someone for a piece of bread, she gets hit and falls to the ground, expressing her perpetual feeling of being inferior and wishing she was never born. The scene then shifts to a gang, with Charlotte among them. One of the gang members hits her, and we see their leader, Albert, telling one of his assistants that someone will buy her as a slave. He rummages through her belongings, finding a wallet full of money. Charlotte tries to take the wallet and escape, but she's stopped. Albert asks her what good it would do to run away, since she would return to a life of misery on the streets, blaming her parents for abandoning her. Suddenly, the door bursts open, and one of the gang members falls to the ground. We see the boy Ritz attacking the remaining criminals, and then Ars entering. He approaches Charlotte and asks about her condition. Charlotte looks at him, questioning his presence. Then we see Albert asking Ars who he is as he dares to break into his place and kill his assistants. Ars looks at him and asks if he is Albert, the slave trader. Albert is surprised that Ars knows his name. He looks at Ars's attire and asks if he's noble. Ars orders him to release the girl immediately, but Albert refuses, stating that she's their slave. Ars approaches Albert, and then Charlotte asks him not to interfere because she's afraid for him. Ars looks at her and tells her that since the first time he met her, he wondered why her eyes seemed empty. But now he understands and uses his magic to know that her ambition level is 1, mocking Albert's disbelief. Albert asks Ars what he's talking about, and Ars explains that ambition refers to personal hopes one has for themselves, which can sometimes lead to betrayal or threats, but also represents the desire for improvement, perseverance, and hope for the future. In her case, with an ambition level of only 1, it means she's given up on her future, which is sadder than anything else. Albert laughs and tells Ars that she has no future because she's a slave. It's the duty of adults to protect the future of children, Ars says angrily, addressing Albert. He questions how they dare to deprive her of her future and laugh about it. He emphasizes that there's nothing funny about it and accuses them of being fools for making such a decision. He insists that the decision should be hers to make, determining what she will become, not theirs. Then, the girl remembers past traumas, and Ars asks her when was the last time she cried. She replies that she doesn't remember anything anymore. Her life has been utterly hopeless, and crying won't save her. She abandoned her dreams because she felt worthless from the moment of her birth, facing verbal and physical abuse, closing off her heart to avoid further hurt. She resorted to theft to help her siblings and survive her completely miserable life. Thus, she decided to focus solely on being strong and saving herself. She breaks down in tears, questioning why she cries now. The man behind Albert speaks up, expressing admiration for Ars's nobility, even though he's just a child. Albert signals him to be silent, acknowledging Ars's nobility even as a child. The girl urges Ars to escape quickly, but Ars asks her to wait a moment. He turns to Ritz and asks if he can handle the situation, to which Ritz replies affirmatively. The man then attacks Ritz, but Ritz swiftly overpowers him, asserting that they've angered a cursed heir, meaning their fate is death. The gang attacks Ritz, but he easily defeats them all with his sword Hamid. Despite the sorcerer's attempts to use their magic against him, it doesn't affect him. He's incredibly powerful. Ars looks at him and the girl, remarking on his strength. Then we see Albert, the slave leader, surprised by the turn of events, while the large man complains about the disturbance, unable to enjoy his drink. This man used to be a captain in the Kanari army, utilizing his formidable mental and physical strength, but he was expelled due to his behavior. He angrily asks Albert for more drink, to which Albert responds that he'll reward him as much as he wants after he finishes his task. The man then proceeds to fight them all. Albert asks if the others lost against this boy, to which Ritz replies mockingly, telling them to mock the others after they escape from this situation, calling Albert a pig and challenging him to show what he's got. The large man threatens to kill Ritz and rip his head off, but Ritz swiftly defeats him with 2 powerful strikes to the jaw and face, stunning the beautiful girl who wonders why these people protect her, and what incredible strength defeated him with just 2 blows. Albert, bewildered by what happened, asks them if they realize what they've done, questioning why the leader of Canari's province agreed to slave trading. Ars tells him that he knows about it, so he'll pay him a portion of the money to buy her. Albert refuses, saying it won't end so easily. Ritz intervenes, addressing Albert as the Lord of Slave Trading, stating that it's based on trust, and they know better than anyone else. Albert, still skeptical, asks what he's trying to say. Ritz explains that they can easily take her regardless of their actions and even without money, but they respect everyone. Additionally, this will tarnish Albert's reputation. Allowing them to steal a slave he intended to sell will ruin his credibility. He warns Albert that if he refuses their offer, they'll have to do what's necessary to ensure her safety. Albert agrees to give her to them, and Ritz is pleased because he understands the situation. He tells Albert that he'll ensure a small bonus. Ars thanks Ritz for his assistance, and they approach Charlotte to take her with them. Ars extends his hand to her, informing her that her friends are waiting for her at home. Charlotte asks them to go with her to a certain place first, and they agree. So, Ars and Ritz accompany her until they reach the edge of a mountain. When Ars looks down from this high point, he's amazed to see the entire city beneath them. Charlotte informs him that this is her secret spot. When she looks at this view, all the problems she faces in the city seem very small, which is why she comes here to reflect occasionally. She loves this place very much. Ars asks her why she shared this with him, and she explains that she started questioning something he mentioned. Before, about wanting to create a city where people like her can live stable lives. When he expressed this desire, she didn't understand. He clarifies that he wants to revive the spirits of children, because when a person feels tired and discouraged, a child's smile can uplift their morale. They believe that a child's smile is brimming with hope, and possessing hope means a person can be motivated by the future. He believes that this enthusiasm carries great power, and just as children boost their morale, their smiles can inspire adults for the future too. That's why he wants to live a better life and try new things, because he believes this enthusiasm is what makes the city a better place. This is part of the reason why he wants to create an environment where children can always carry hope. He knows that this is the responsibility of adults who manage the city, and that's why he wants to establish a city where they can live stable lives filled with hope. Afterwards, Ars apologizes to Charlotte for talking too much about his dream. He wants everyone to live a decent life. Charlotte tells him that she has become interested in him. Ritz then asks her to test her magical strength. Ars looks at him and asks where he got this magical tool from. Ritz tells him that he found it on the floor of the house they visited earlier. Then he gives it to Charlotte and instructs her to try if she can use magic. He didn't doubt Ars's abilities, but he wants to see for himself if she is truly gifted. He wants to consider her as his companion after seeing her potential. Charlotte tells him that this is the first time for her to do this. She doesn't even know how to cast spells or anything similar. Charlotte expresses her uncertainty about how to cast spells, but Ritz reassures her that he'll help her. Meanwhile, Ars admits to himself that he doesn't know much about magic and has never seen anyone as proficient as Charlotte, making him wonder about the extent of her power. Ritz informs him that Charlotte is about to begin using magic. Charlotte then uses magic, leaving everyone amazed, and the necklace shatters due to the strength of her magic. Ritz admits he's compelled to acknowledge her talents. Charlotte asks if she can ask a question. She clarifies if her role as his follower means she'll get food and shelter. Ars confirms, adding that she'll also receive a modest monthly salary. Charlotte wonders if he'll send assistants to help the children. Ars assures her he will and promises to provide food and shelter. He also has something to say to her. He can't wait to see her future, and she promises to do her best to achieve his dream. Ars tells her she doesn't need to act formally and should be herself. He doesn't like formalities and reminds her that he's older than her. He acknowledges their achieved goal and suggests they return home since they've run out of money. Him and Ritz. Charlotte apologizes for taking his money and thanks him for saving her. Ars jokes about feeling hungry after all the talk, but assures her he'll manage until they return home. Charlotte expresses her surprise at becoming a follower to someone younger, realizing that his future is the future she wants to see. She bids farewell to the children, mentioning that the Louvent house feels stronger now, but she feels immense pressure. Surrounded by these remarkable people, humbly sees himself as ordinary but vows to do everything he can to help them and not disappoint them. However, he also acknowledges that he made a promise and will do his utmost to build a wonderful city. After that, they go to the forest and Charlotte eats. Ritz says to her, "You need to start learning the basics of manners and speech, and you must learn that if you're going to accompany Ars in meals." Then Ars's father talks to Ars, saying, "The battlefield is very dangerous for a woman." Ars says to Charlotte, "Show my father your ability to use your magic," and he is very impressed by her magic. Then today's episode ends. Stay tuned for the next episodes, but don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell to receive all the updates. Our episode today begins with Ars welcoming back his father, King Revin Louvent, from his return from battle. Ars informs us that their region, Lamberg, is located in the Canary Province, and they have been involved in territorial disputes with Sitza County. Ars's father has frequently gone to war multiple times. Ars approaches his father and asks about the battle. His father informs him that they achieved a great victory, with the spotlight on the young lady Charlotte Wraith, who joined them 3 years ago. Ars then approaches Charlotte, welcoming her back and highlighting her prowess in battle. He informs us that Charlotte emerged as a comet on the battlefield and quickly became the most fearsome sorceress in the region, earning her the title of Lady of Flames from the Louvent family. Thanks to her, the Sorcery Legion has become a pride for the Louvent family, and Ars never imagined that the addition of such an excellent talent would lead to such a change in circumstances. Soon, Sophia appears with her assistants, carrying 2 young children, revealing that Ars now has twin siblings. Ars's father remarks on how much they resemble Ars, and Sophia predicts that they will be instrumental in the future of the Louvent family. Ritz interrupts, informing Ars of newly discovered talents. A family of hunters who recently moved to Lamberg with 2 tall, strong brothers highly praised by the people. The scene shifts to Ars and Ritz outside the house, preparing to venture into the forest with their horse. Charlotte calls out to Ars from atop a tree, asking where he's going. Ars informs her that they're heading to the forest, to which she responds by descending from the tree, expressing her intention to accompany him as it's her day off. Then we see the 3 heroes riding on horseback, but the horse is walking very slowly. Charlotte expresses her frustration with the horse's slow pace, and Ritz tells her that it's her weight that slows the horse down. Charlotte gets angry and suggests that Ritz dismount and run alongside them, but Ritz refuses and suggests that she dismount and run instead. She tells him that she's with them to accompany Ars, as she deserves it more than Ritz since she performed better in battle than him. Ars looks at them and tells them to calm down, as finding new friends won't make them lose the ones they already have. Suddenly, they see a bear running in the forest, and it gets shot with a hunting arrow. Then 2 boys named Gatos and Marcus appear, happy because they caught the bear. When they see Ars and his friends approaching, the boys apologize for not noticing them earlier and ask if they're okay. Ars looks at them and uses his magic on them, realizing that these are the boys they've been searching for, with skill ratings of 67 and 65, which are excellent numbers. As for proficiency, Gatos has A-level skills in tracking, while Marcus has A-level skills in archery. Gatos asks them what brought them to the forest. Then the scene shifts to Gatos and Marcus's house, where we see a table filled with delicious food, much to the delight of Ars and his friends. When Charlotte eats the meat, she finds it very tasty and asks about its type. Gatos tells her it's meat from the animal they hunted in the forest earlier, small, fast animals that are difficult to catch but very appetizing. Ritz looks at her and tells her not to be rude and show some modesty. An old man then appears and asks Ars why he's come to them. Ars tells him that he wants Gatos and Marcus to serve as soldiers for the Louvent family, as they possess a unique talent. Gatos and Marcus are very surprised and their father is overjoyed, saying to Ars that this is expected from the son of the king, as he's much more mature than his own son Russell. Despite being younger, Ars asks if he has another son, and suddenly the door opens and a young boy enters, stealing a piece of bread from the table. Charlotte sees him and tells the father that this little thief is his son. The father scolds his son, telling him not to sneak and steal without greeting properly. He then approaches him and orders him to welcome Ars properly, as he's the son of the ruler. Ritz looks at him and comments on how his hair color is different from his brother's. Ars looks at him and uses his magic to assess Russell's abilities, and he's very surprised. He chokes on his food and everyone asks if he's alright. Ars asks, "What exactly are these creativity statistics?" As if he's a Kuruda Kanba. Russell's special ability score is 109. He's a monster, and Ars realizes he won't find anyone with a higher score in the entire Samforth Empire. His statistics are currently low because he's still only 5 years old, but he'll become remarkable when he undergoes proper training. The father looks at Ars and apologizes for his little son's actions, as he's not as competent as his older brothers. Ars very excitedly says he wants to include Russell among his followers. Everyone is surprised, and the father objects, saying that Russell will only bring trouble to Ars. Ars approaches Russell and asks him if he wants to join him. Russell looks at him and says, "Do you mean I'll join the fighting in battles?" He cries heavily, screaming, "No, I'll die. I don't want to join." Ars and his friends are taken aback, and we see the father scolding Russell for speaking disrespectfully to Lord Ars. Russell quickly leaves, slamming the door behind him. The father apologizes to Ars, explaining that Russell is still weak and shy compared to Gatos and Marcus, as his mother passed away 2 years ago, and since then he has been withdrawn. Those his age usually cut wood and train with swords, but adding him to Ars' followers won't cause trouble. It might even help him. Ars tells the father that Russell's talents don't lie in being a soldier like his brothers, but in his mind. He has a strategic talent. The father acknowledges that Russell has always been somewhat clever. Ars tells him that his remarkable intelligence would be crucial for their goal. Then Ars excuses himself and decides to go to Russell's room. When he enters, he finds Russell very scared. Ars tries to calm him down and apologizes, assuring him that he's not trying to scare him. He asks Russell if he likes books, and Russell tells him that he loves reading because his mother used to read to him all the time. Russell confesses to Ars that he's a failure at everything else, but when he reads, he can forget all the bad things around him. He has asked Russell if he would like to visit their library, where there are many books he might enjoy reading, and he could take as many as he wants. When Russell hears this, he becomes worried and tells Ars that if he allows him to take whatever he wants, he will surely be forced to do something in return. Ars reassures him that he will never do that, as he trusts him to enjoy the books since he loves them so much. Russell agrees to go with him as long as there is no catch, but he insists that his siblings accompany them because he would be devastated if anything happened to him while he's alone. Ars and Russell then go to Ars' house, where the dog approaches Russell wanting to play. But Russell is very afraid and starts crying because he thinks the dog will eat him. Ars calms him down, and then he informs his siblings that Charlotte will take them to the Thinker's Hall because she is the leader of the Sorcerer's Brigade here. Charlotte refuses to do so, but Russell's siblings are excited to go with her, so Charlotte takes them to tour the palace. Russell keeps calling out to them so they don't leave him alone. Ars asks Russell to come with him to the library, and when they arrive, Russell is amazed by the number of books there. Ars tells him that they have a copy of every book in Messiah, so Russell hurries toward the books to look at them. Ars tells him to take his time and read as much as he wants because he has to leave now for his daily lessons, but he assures Russell that Ritz will stay with him in case he encounters any problems. After finishing his lessons, Ars hurried to check on Russell. Upon entering, he found Russell lying on the floor. Ritz informed him that Russell had been reading with such enthusiasm, trying to absorb as much knowledge as possible, that he exhausted himself and fell asleep. When Russell encountered unfamiliar words, he absorbed them immediately and managed to deepen his understanding further. Ars looked at Russell's skill list and noticed that his creativity skill was increasing rapidly, indicating a remarkable surge in his creative abilities within just a few hours. Ars was astonished because Russell's learning speed was incredibly fast. At that moment, Charlotte and Russell's siblings entered to take him away, but they were surprised to find him asleep, unable even to read. They couldn't understand what he enjoyed doing in there. Ars interrupted them, realizing he hadn't grasped how Russell couldn't read yet managed to go through all those books. Russell's brother explained that their mother used to read to him, but hunters like them don't need to learn to read, so they never taught him. Russell woke up from his sleep and asked them what they were doing there. Ars asked him how he learned to read, and he replied that he remembered his mother reading to him when he was young. He tried to match what she said with the words on the page and eventually learned to read. His brother was amazed, mentioning that Russell was only 3 years old when he learned that. Russell explained that he remembers most things that happened since his birth, stunning Ars because he learned to read on his own. He couldn't let such talent go to waste. Russell had genuine talents. Ritz quietly suggested to Ars that if they could teach Gregory and Russell alternative ways of hunting without a bow, it might restore his confidence. As pondered over this suggestion, Russell takes his siblings to the forest and asks them to set traps for the wild animals. He knows that archery is the primary hunting method in this area, but trap hunting is common in other continents. When he suggests using his intellect to create a trap, Russell becomes anxious. His siblings insist that he should try it and they'll help him in any way they can. Russell agrees because he wants to be useful. After some time, Russell sets traps for the wild animals. They call their father to show him what his son has done. The father sees that Russell has caught many wild animals and learns that it was Russell who set the traps because he thought a lot. If his siblings' wish to become soldiers comes true, their father will have to hunt by himself. So Russell used a fence painted yellow to attract the animals inside. It's a trap that won't ensnare any humans but can be easily used by anyone to hunt. But that's not all. Russell tells him about the herbs on the tree. He read in a book that young wild animals and their mothers are attracted to the scent of herbs. So he hung the herbs outside to keep the mothers and their babies away. He also created small exits for the young ones, in case they got stuck inside. These herbs multiply quickly, but they will eventually die out if they tug at one of the young ones. Russell prefers to focus on maintaining the balance of nature. Russell apologized, saying, "I think I've overstepped my bounds." Gatos replied, "Russell is truly amazing and has crafted a wonderful trap. You have to admit he's talented." Then the father told his children, "You will leave tomorrow. Take Russell with you." He asked us to take Russell home, then left them. Russell said, "My father hates me so much, just as I thought." As tried to talk to him but left, saying, "I can't stay with him anymore. I'll stay with you from now on, Ars." As said, "I'm sure your father has his reasons." Russell went home, saying, "My mother's health deteriorated after my birth. My father hates me because I caused her death. My mother died because of me. I locked myself in my room on the anniversary of her death. I killed my mother and I can't help my family." Later, they saw the father and Russell's sisters on the roof. The father told them to speak quietly so Russell wouldn't wake up and hear them. Then Gato spoke and thanked their father for raising them. "Would make you proud as soldiers," they said. The father told them to say these words to the mother who gave birth to them. Marcus asked why he didn't speak to Russell in the same tone. "He was amazing and worked hard to help you," Marcus said. "The father said he should be upset with him. I failed to see his talent. I only focused on what he couldn't do. I was harsh on him because not seeing my child's potential makes me a failure as a father. I want him to spend the rest of his life in a place where his talent shines. But he's kind like his mother, worried more about him than his talents. The only way to make him leave is to make him hate and despise me. It's the only way to atone for what I've done to him. I hope you support Russell since I failed, because he's as precious as you." Then the father and Russell cried. The next day, we see Ars at Russell's house asking the father to take his children with them. The father said, "Please take care of my children." Gatos and Marcus bid farewell to their father. He told them to do their best. Russell then came saying, "I'm also going with you." Ars told him that if he went, he wouldn't see his parents for a long time. Then Russell said to his father, "I can't hate you, Dad. I'm weak and a failure at hunting. I couldn't be useful at home, but I'll go to Ars's house study and learn different things to become useful to the village. I'll do my best to make better traps too. But I want to ask you a question. Can we live together when that day comes?" The father cried a lot, saying, "Of course, I'll be waiting for you." Russell bid farewell to his father and left. Then Gatos said, "I made Russell come to serve your family with us." Ars replied, "I don't mind if he becomes my follower or not. He definitely has an amazing talent. I want him to be my follower too. But above all, they are guests to me as individuals from our region. Seeing their relationship return to what it used to be pleases me." Marcus said, "We will serve you with all we have. We will become strong soldiers and keep you safe." Russell told them, "I'll do my best." Ars happily said, "I'm glad to have you with us." And so ends today's episode. Stay tuned for the upcoming episodes, but don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell to receive all the latest updates. Our episode today begins with Aris sitting with his father, who is severely ill. Aris tells his father that perhaps he should take on the next mission. His father responds sternly, reminding Aris that he's too young for such responsibilities and that his health is deteriorating, with coughing worsening each day, possibly leading to pneumonia. Despite his father's objections, Aris insists that he shouldn't fight in his condition. Aris then reveals to himself that the ruler of Messian, Governor Messian, had died from illness a year ago, and his younger son, Vasmarek, was appointed as his successor in the will. However, the elder brother, Koran, insisted that his brother forged. Koran, considered less competent, had many achievements in battles, leading some to believe he should inherit the throne, sparking a division among Messian supporters. Meanwhile, the neighboring province of Sites took advantage of the situation, launching an attack. Back to reality, we see cloudy skies and rain as Aris and his father travel to Lambur. His father tells him there's a more important matter to consider, which greatly puzzles Aris. When asked why he seems confused, his father brings up the issue of engagement. Aris angrily denies any engagement, questioning when and how this happened, to which his father reminds him that he was informed days ago. Aris is shocked, as it's the first he's heard of it, and his father hands him the letter received just days ago. Then, the scene shifts to Aris speaking with Ritz, mentioning he received a letter from his fiancée. Ritz is surprised and asks Aris, "Your fiancée? When were you engaged, young lad?" His friend Charlotte teases him, but Aris interrupts, stating that it's not the time for jokes, as he's hearing about the engagement for the first time as well. Then, the maid opens the door and informs Aris that there's a visitor outside claiming to be his fiancée. The scene shifts outside, where Aris receives his fiancée, but he looks very puzzled. As the curtain is drawn aside, she introduces herself as Liysia Bleed, and she's very pleased to be there. Aris is greatly surprised. She's indeed a beautiful girl. He quickly evaluates her, diplomatic skills 100, ambition 80, which is very good. She also appears delicate and charming. Then, to himself, Aris thinks, wait, could this be a ploy to make a good impression? Could she really be here to oust me from my position? With my father incapacitated, I'm the only one who can stop her evil plans. Aris's facial expressions show complete anger. Liysia asks Aris if something is bothering him, to which the attendant with her, named Jan, interjects, saying, "No, madam, he must be dazzled by your beauty." Aris then takes them inside the palace, while we see Ritz running hurriedly, asking who the person in black running around is. But Liysia scolds him, telling him to mind his own business and to apologize immediately. Jan quickly apologizes to Ritz. Later, we see all the maids awaiting Lady Liysia, presenting her with numerous flowers, which greatly pleases her. She thanks them for their hospitality. Then the scene shifts to the dining table, where Liysia asks Aris if the meat is tasty. He confirms that it is indeed delicious, mentioning that it's from the wild boar they trapped. Liysia smiles as she notices some sauce on Aris's mouth. He apologizes to her and wipes his mouth. To himself, Aris notes that his communication skills are completely lacking, but Liysia manages to keep the conversation flowing effortlessly. She's skilled in communication, quick-witted, and her manners are impeccable. Liysia tells Aris that she passed through the city of Lambago on her way here and thought it was very beautiful. Aris agrees, wishing the weather had been better to show her around properly, even mentioning Arik, the nearby town. She responds cryptically, saying he'll know soon enough. Indeed, after 5 minutes, we see the sun shining brightly again, surprising Aris, who jokingly asks if she can control the weather. She then asks Aris to show her the city now that the weather is clear. As they step out of the room, we see Charlotte and Russell outside the door. Charlotte asks Russell his opinion of the girl. He responds that she's very beautiful and polite, but somewhat intimidating. Charlotte agrees, saying her instincts are sharp, as she can sense a hint of danger from her scent. Then, we return to Aris, who agrees to take Liysia outside. As they step out, people in the market greet them warmly, and Aris introduces them to his new fiancée, Liysia. They congratulate him and wish him a happy life with her, eagerly anticipating their wedding. Aris wanders through the market and notices 2 men engaged in a heated argument. He asks Liysia what's happening, and she explains that it's a dispute over magical stones. The furniture maker requested fiery magical stones, but the wholesale merchant brought him sound magical stones instead. This is what happens when agreements are made orally. Aris attempts to resolve the matter as the future lord of the land. But if he fails, Liysia will mock him, so he must not fail. Charlotte intervenes, trying to stop them. One spell from her will resolve the issue instantly. However, Liysia advises Charlotte not to interfere, as she's still a child. When Liysia realizes that Charlotte is the famous sorceress, she becomes delighted, as she's one of her biggest admirers. Charlotte's spells are truly remarkable, and Charlotte thanks her. Then Liysia approaches the men and urges them not to get angry, as it will only mar their handsome faces. They look at her, not knowing who she is, so she introduces herself as Liysia, Aris's fiancée, the future head of the Louvent family. When they recognize her, they congratulate her and express joy for Aris. They are unable to find sound magical stones in their lands, considering them very valuable. She offers a high price for them and mentions that they have a volcano that yields many fiery magical stones. They can sell their surplus at a reasonable price. If this solution suits them, they should agree to it. Finally, she informs them that Aris is not the one who suggested this idea. The people are delighted that Aris is willing to help them even with their minor problems, as this is expected from their future lord. Aris informs them that he intends to submit a request to prevent such incidents in the future, urging them to write agreements even when negotiating among friends. He knows it demanding, but they must make every effort. Afterward, Aris expresses his deep gratitude to Liysia for what she has done for him. She was a great help to him, and she remarks that she's always glad to see everyone well. Aris is impressed by her diplomacy, which seems to be on a completely different level. At sunset, Aris and Liysia return to the palace. Aris apologizes for making her walk around so much, but she reassures him, expressing her joy in learning so much, making the time invaluable. Charlotte interrupts at this moment, acknowledging that she did well, but implying that acceptance is a different matter. She leaves without waiting for Liysia's response. Then Liysia turns to Aris and asks him to tell her the favor she wants from him. What kind of a sincere question? What kind of people does he like? Aris struggles to answer, as he can't discern her intentions. She's very clever, and he can't outwit her, so he'll have to face her head on. Aris responds, I like people who express their opinions openly and don't hide anything from me. Liysia assures him that she will take that into consideration. In the evening, Aris mentions that they had a luxurious meal prepared by Ritz, and Charlotte performed a wonderful magical show enjoyed by everyone. However, he admits he couldn't figure out Liysia's intentions. He was exhausted from the night's events, so he'll try again tomorrow. Later, we see Aris in his room feeding something on his bed. He finds Liysia there and is surprised. He wants to scream, but she covers his mouth with her hand. Aris tells her that this is his room, not hers. She responds that she asked someone to guide her to his room and then sneaked in. Aris asks why she did that. She replies to see the shock on your face. On our way home today, didn't you say you prefer girls who express their opinions? Aris acknowledges her right and admits that he hoped for an honest conversation. He reflects on being alone in a room with a girl at night. Then, he asks her what she wanted to talk about. She explains that she wants to know his opinion about something. She has a unique talent that allows her to know people's feelings just by looking at them, even if they try to hide it. The feeling she sensed when she first saw him was doubt, which is understandable since it was our first meeting. However, she takes pride in her ability to make people feel comfortable through conversation for a few minutes. But it seems that everything she didn't reduce his doubts about her. She asks why he doesn't trust her. He has muttered to himself that her skills and observation were astonishing, perhaps making her feel anxious. She never imagined that someone could see her statistics. She had always managed to dodge the question. Then he said to her, I have the ability to see a person's capabilities, their competencies, and their level of ambition. You have an amazing talent for diplomacy and much greater ambition than most people. It leads me to believe that all your actions are completely calculated and that you have a hidden motive. I don't know if you'll believe me. She said to him, I don't doubt your words. In fact, this explains everything about your behavior. I am ambitious, and the only ambition a woman might have is for a remarkable man to fall in love with her at first sight. He said to her, that's wonderful. Your words and expressions were incredibly charming. I was frozen staring at you. But she's right. The best way for her son to escape is to marry a powerful man, which means her engagement to someone weak like me wouldn't suit her. She said to him, I can know exactly what you're thinking, for the first time. It's no doubt that a small-minded person like me from Louvent's family might be stupid. I would do whatever it takes to break off our engagement, but spending time with you today changed my mind. I want to marry you. He said to her, the truth remains that my area is small. She said to him, it's small now. You have promising strength. Today's events confirmed that Louvent's family will thrive in the future. He said to her, "I'm surrounded by amazing people who have always helped me." Then Liysia recalls her past and tells Ars that the people of Lamberg love him very much. When they met her as his fiancée, they were extremely happy, treating her as if she were part of their own family. This realization made her understand that he is deeply loved by them because of his personality, which might be his most valuable asset to say. Then they return to reality, and she smiles and tells him, "And I love you too, just as the people of Lamberg do." Ars is very surprised and thanks her for that. Then she asks him for permission to return to her room to sleep and leaves. Ars then sets down the cup of tea and exclaims, "That was the dumbest response I've ever heard in my entire life. Who responds to 'I love you' with gratitude? How can a girl tell me she loves me for the first time in my life, and I just say thank you? She genuinely loves me, and spoke to me sincerely without doubting my assessment skills." Meanwhile, we see Liysia outside the room talking to herself, wondering how she did such a thing. How could she say those words? Sneaking into a respectable person's bedroom is very shameful and wrong. Then she approaches the window and says, "But this is the first time I've ever told anyone my true feelings." The next morning, we see Liysia in the carriage, saying to herself the noble world is a terrible place. Everyone lies, and no one says what they truly believe. They don't hesitate to overthrow others to ensure their status or power. I've always hated my ability to sense such feelings among them. But one day, I heard a lady say about her once inferior hand that she married a noble man and became higher than everyone. Then Liysia continues her speech, saying that if a powerful man with political influence were to fall in love with him for the first time, he could escape from the world of schemes and treachery. Since the moment she realized this, she began to cherish this ability that she used to despise so much. She saw the worst of it indeed, so she learned to say things she didn't mean and initially didn't care about marrying into the Louvent family. Her intention was to leave a good impression and establish a good relationship. However, not only did she fail in that, but she also made him doubt her despite her best attempts at conversation and despite repeatedly using her charming smile. His suspicions deepened more and more, and she couldn't figure out what he was thinking. She remembers when she was in the city, and Ars tells her that the roads in Lamberg are rough, and walking in those shoes is difficult. Then he gives her ointment to apply to any wounds caused by wearing those shoes. Liysia thanks Ars, and back to reality, she says that Ars is a very kind person, boundless in his kindness, not tied to any rank or position. The people of the area treat him with respect as if they were treating their own family, and Liysia wishes to be part of this world. She is amazed by him. After confessing her true feelings and accepting his proposal, she is truly grateful for it. Then she looks at the sky and says, "Ars is strong and capable, but I'm sure his kindness will lead him into trouble. So I want to be by his side, and if anyone tries to hinder the beautiful world he's building, I'll crush them, whoever they are." Then the scene shifts to Ars in his room, saying, "We started exchanging messages after Liysia left, and I've never had a friend I could message before, so I feel a little nervous when I write to her." He remembers when he stood outside with Liysia and told her that these were the flower seeds that would bloom here, and he gives them to her. Liysia thanks him profusely, then approaches him and asks about his response to her confession of love. Ars gets flustered, and she tells him there's no need to answer right away. She'll do her best to make him fall in love with her. She assures him that she won't give up until he marries her. Then back to reality, Ars says, "I mentioned the recent conflicts and how life has become peaceful again. Currently, there's a dispute over the succession of the ruler of Mazian. Also, something wonderful happened. My father has recovered and is no longer worried about going to war. He'll be able to travel easily." Ars looks out the window and says, "In our next meeting, I'll ask you to marry me, my dear Liysia." And that's how our episode ends today. To continue watching more exciting episodes, please subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. Our episode today begins with Brett's informing Ars that his father's health is very poor, advising him to prepare for the worst. Ars is deeply affected and regrets not showing his father more appreciation for all he has done. He wishes for his father's recovery so he can have more time to fulfill his wishes. Then the scene shifts to the castle of Kantei, where we see a strange man carrying a sword attempting to approach the ruler to kill him. As the ruler tries to escape, the man grabs him and kills him. Then many guards surround the strange man, but he throws himself out the window, falling to the ground and dying, surprising all the guards. The scene then transitions to Ars and his sisters sitting by their father's bedside, where he informs them that the ruler of Mazian has been assassinated. He asks Russell what he expects to happen next, and Russell predicts a great war. Their father explains that with the ruler's death, the conflict for the throne will escalate, and the leaders of each region in Mazian will have to choose to support either the elder or younger brother. It's likely that Lord Lumiere, the leader of the Canary province, will choose the elder brother, followed by Lamber when he does so. Then he looks to Bretz and tells him he expects Lord Lumiere to summon him soon and orders him to prepare the forces to move at any moment. When he tries to get up from the bed, he falls due to exhaustion, worrying Ars greatly. The scene then shifts to Ars in his room, where Bretz informs him that Lord Lumiere has sent them a message wanting them to join the meeting at Canary Castle in 3 days. Bretz tells him that he will go with Charlotte only due to King Refen's illness. Ars refuses and insists that this time he will go. Then the scene shifts to Bleed's house in the Torbacoista region, where we see the girl Liysia in her room. Then we see Ritz and Charlotte arriving in front of Canary Castle. Ars asks about the personality of the leader of the Canary province. They approach the castle gate and stand before the guard. Ars introduces himself to the guard and informs him that he's here on behalf of his father, King Refen, who was summoned by Lord Lumiere. The guard holds the invitation and asks if a child like him from the Louvent family is genuine. Charlotte asks if he doubts them, which frightens the guard, and he quickly reassures her that he doesn't doubt them, calling her Lady Flame. Ars is very surprised because he realizes that Charlotte is very famous. Then the guard looks at Ritz and asks if he is the sole guardian from Louvent. Ars is also surprised and asks what this frightening title is about. Ritz tells them that he doesn't like this title because it makes him seem like a very dangerous person. Then the guard allows them to enter, and they enter the castle. Then that man appears, who calls himself Minus Reinhard, Lord Lumiere's servant, and welcomes everyone. Ars is delighted and introduces himself as well, informing him that he's here on behalf of his father, King Refen. Minas asks about King Refen's condition and wishes him a speedy recovery. Ars looks at him and uses the spell of exploration and knows that Minas's statistical averages are very high, as if he's proficient in everything. Then Mina says, "I've heard a lot about your companion's exploits as well, and we'd like to honor them and provide them with a beautiful life in the castle." Ritz thanks him very much for the offer, but states that his allegiance will always be to the Louvent family for life, and Charlotte agrees. Minas tells them that the Louvent family's house seems like a good place to live, and thanks him for his kind words. Then Minas informs them that the leaders of the 2 regions are waiting for them, so they head to the meeting hall, and Ars opens the door. Then Ars enters and greets them, expressing his pleasure at meeting them. He introduces himself as a representative of his father, Lord Reven, from the city of Limburg. The 2 leaders seem surprised but pay him no particular attention. Then we see Ars's facial expression change, and he moves, saying to himself, "I think I should sit here." He wonders why they are silent, and if they doubt him because he is still a child. The bald old man speaks to him, identifying him as Reven's son. He praises Ars' progress. This man is Mr. Kummer, who used to play with Ars a lot when he was young. Ars apologizes for not greeting him first, but Mr. Kummer laughs it off, noticing how much Ars has grown. He offers him a piece of cake and tells him to relax. Meanwhile, the other man standing next to Ere stares at him intensely, as if fire is igniting from his body. In those moments, the leader enters and everyone straightens up. He thanks them for being there and introduces himself as the leader of the Canary region and the Lord of Canary Castle, Lord Lumiere Bearis. Ars evaluates his statistics and finds them very high, with exceptional skill. Lumiere compensates for what Ars lacks in experience with his servant, Minas, making balanced decisions for their region. Then the leader addresses them, apologizing again for summoning them on short notice. He reveals that assassinating the governor will undoubtedly lead to war in the succession conflict. As individuals from the Canary region, they will support the eldest son, Kuran. My feelings about this matter have not changed. Then he asks if there are any objections to this statement, and everyone replies no, they have no objections. So he continues, rumors suggest that the Saites province intends to exploit the situation and renew its attack. He rises from his seat and urges them to prepare their forces for the upcoming conflict. He concludes that's all there is to it. They must make the necessary preparations. Mr. Koran remarks it seems it will be a tough war. We need to intensify soldier training starting tomorrow. Elias takes a deep breath, visibly tense, then looks behind him to find the Lord standing there. Quickly, Ars apologizes to the Lord, saying, "Please forgive my rudeness." The Lord reassures him, "Take your time. I've heard about Revan. Send him my regards and tell him not to overexert himself." Ars thanks him for his concern. Then the Lord continues, remarking on Limburg's recent display of unexpected strength despite its small size. He praises Ars for acting as his father's agent at only 11 years old. Expecting great things from the Louvent family, placing a hand on Ars' shoulder, he tells him he's an amazing boy. Ars thanks him and pledges to do his best. The Lord then turns to Ritz and Charlotte, informing them that the same applies to them before leaving. As they converse, the commander who had been staring at Ars calls out to him. Introducing himself as Hammond, Lord of the Torba Costa region, he begins explaining. Ars inwardly wonders about his words, realizing he's Lysia's father, his fiancée. Hammond continues, informing Ars that his daughter has been recently depressed, seemingly unsatisfied with their correspondence. Ars panics, asking himself what he's done wrong. Hammond reassures him, asking if he had been responding properly to Lysia's messages. Ars admits to thinking about replying to her when his father collapsed and the governor was assassinated, causing a delay. He promises Hammond that he would respond as soon as he returns home. As she began to express her feelings openly, it's evident she cares deeply for Liysia, but she kept her emotions in check. Liysia is an incredibly intelligent and obedient girl, and he benefited greatly from her in this matter. However, he left her and her affairs while prioritizing internal and military matters. It must have been harsh for her, he acknowledges. Then he tells him that their region has hosted many ugly conflicts among the nobles, and undoubtedly his daughter was aware of them. He's sure it was tough on her, another reason he wants her to find happiness. The fault is his, but he couldn't find anyone but Ars to confide in to help him. Then Lord Hammond says that he is the lord of the region but has become intolerant when it comes to his daughter. He informs him about Revan, a brave and strong warrior who assures him that his daughter will be safe with his son. Thus, he agrees to the betrothal and pleads with him to take care of his daughter. Ars understands his words and decides to make every effort to make her happy. Lord Hammond is very grateful and asks him to tell Liysia about this conversation. When Lord Hammond leaves, Ars feels a bit reassured, as he was afraid of him, but it seems he genuinely cares about Liysia. Later, we move to Ars when he went to his father in the palace and was informed that Lord Lumiere supports Lord Coran. This slightly angers his father because he summoned Lord Lumiere without informing him, thinking he's still a little child, but he proved himself well. After that, Ars goes to his room to write a response to Liysia to reassure her. He apologizes in his letter for his recent preoccupied days, even forgetting to reply to her. He tells her about meeting Lord Hammond for the first time, a very respectable man who clearly cares for her. He writes that the situation is very dire and war is imminent, hoping their families, Louvent and Bled, can cooperate and overcome this ordeal. After finishing the letter, Ars thinks about Liysia. He knows nothing about her current state, but he feels she must be afraid and sad. However, he made a promise to Lord Hammond to win this war and protect Liysia. Then we shift to the training ground, where we see Ars practicing with his aide, Ritz. Ars falls to the ground, defeated by his aide. Ritz apologizes for what happened, but Ars tells him there's no need to apologize. He must bear this fate, especially if he's to go to battle. He wants Ritz to fight him with all his strength. Ritz tells him they've been training all day and need rest, but he insists he's fine and they shouldn't rest until they win this war. Ars looks at his soldiers' training, noticing no improvement in their abilities. He had led them in a previous mock battle that ended in utter failure. While he had read about war, he lacked practical experience. Moreover, he constantly trembles when real soldiers attack. He's sure Ritz and Charlotte will be there to support him on the battlefield, but everyone will feel anxious if they can't stand firm in the field, regardless of their amazing skills. Without decisive leadership, their skills mean nothing. At that moment, Russell approaches them, informing them that the Sats province is sending forces to Cormier. Lord Lumiere sent a message requesting their immediate presence on the battlefield. Ars ponders this, and Ritz tells him that if the Sates province invades Missian and they have few options on how to respond, their proximity to Sates will soon become their problem. If they succeed in invading Cormier, they'll swiftly advance into the smaller Lamberg region. Ars tells Ritz that his father's condition doesn't allow him to go to battle, meaning he has to go himself. We will send our troops, and I will lead them. I want everyone to gather here in the palace, Ritz says, addressing Just your presence alone will give us courage. I'll be there, and I'll make sure your first battle is a victory. For sure. The scene then shifts to Ars speaking with the soldiers, telling them, I will lead you all to battle to protect the Canary province. Suddenly, Ars hears his father's voice, and he turns to see him. His father tells him, I cannot let you go to the battlefield. I will lead them this time. Ars tells him that his condition doesn't allow him to go to war. His father responds, I won't regret dying in service to the Canary province, which includes Lamberg. Riot rushes in, surprised, but Ars tells him not to interfere. Rietz apologizes, and Ars tells him, yes, I am weak, but Rietz and Charlotte will be with me. I will return victorious. His father intervenes again, saying, that's not the issue. You don't have the face of a warrior, and you don't understand the meaning of that word either. He orders Guller to bring the man from the cell, and Guller rushes off to do so. Ars asks who the man is, and his father tells him, his name is Paramorda, a criminal accused of murder, robbery, and rape. He's a monster who has committed several heinous crimes, causing delays in his execution due to illnesses. But they will execute him now. His father challenges us to watch the man's death without losing his composure. If he can do so, his father will acknowledge him as a man and allow him to take command in the battle. He is frightened at the prospect of witnessing a man's death without flinching, admits he's never seen anyone killed before. Paramorda then speaks, saying he's witnessed many executions, including ones where he enjoyed killing young children like us, especially when fear floods their innocent little eyes. It's quite exhilarating. Reeve orders his soldiers to execute the criminal Paramorda under the name of Reeve, and the soldier prepares the criminal's head on the block and kills him. However, Neddy Ars can't bear to watch any longer. His father tells him there's nothing to be ashamed of. Everyone reacts this way the first time. Even my reaction will witness death continuously on the battlefield. It's impossible for someone to be affected by one death. Dealing with leadership, I will go this time. So Reeve tells his soldiers, let's go to battle. And Ars's friends run to him, but Reeve tells them, we will leave together. You three go and leave Ars alone, Ars says, crying. I don't understand anything, and I wasn't ready to go to war. I'm truly a child. And that's how today's episode ends. Stay tuned for the upcoming episodes of this anime. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all that's new. Today's episode begins with the Great War. We see King Raven and Ritz fighting against the enemy armies. Then we see Russell ordering the infantry to retreat so that the archers can advance. The archers then launch their arrows at the enemy. Charlotte uses her magic, causing a huge explosion. We then see Ares standing by the window, narrating that the enemy's army was twice the size of Canary's, but due to the incredible performance of Loven's forces led by his father, they managed to capture the fortress in the end. The campaign lasted over a month, and his father returned 4 days after Aris's 12th birthday. The scene shifts to Aris's father lying in bed, with his wife and children by his side, looking sorrowful due to his poor health. We then see Aris approaching Ritz and Charlotte, welcoming them. Ritz is surprised to see Aris with wounds on his face. Aris explains that the wounds are from training. He then asks about his father's condition. Ritz tells him that his father's performance in the battle was impressive, but the illness took over once the fighting ended, causing him to collapse. The long battle and his already deteriorating health affected him negatively. Aris feels sad and says it's his fault for not going with him. Ritz reassures him that it's not true. King Raven's health was already failing, and Aris is not to blame. Aris thanks him for his kind words and asks him to inform him of any changes in his father's condition. Ritz asks where he is going, and Aris replies that he is going to train. We then see Russell asking Ritz and Charlotte if they think Lord Aris will be alright. Charlotte mentions that someone told her Aris has been pushing himself through very rigorous daily training and hopes he doesn't end up bedridden as well. As they descend the stairs, they hear someone knocking on the door. Lady Liysia enters, apologizing for coming so late and asking about Aris. Ritz asks her what the matter is. She explains that she is very worried about Aris because they had been exchanging letters, and he always wrote warmly and sincerely. However, since the start of the recent conflict, his letters have lacked the emotion they used to convey. Ritz approaches her and says, "Please don't feel offended, Lady Liysia, but Lord Aris has his reasons." Liysia becomes agitated and tells him she won't be offended, but is deeply concerned for Aris. Ritz explains that Lord Aris feels inadequate for staying at home and guilty for potentially worsening Lord Raven's condition. Liysia feels sad that she couldn't help Aris in his time of need, despite being his fiancé. She then asks where she can find Ares. The scene shifts to Liysia entering the training ground and seeing Aris training with his instructor. The instructor tells Aris that his body cannot handle any more physical training. Aris protests and tries to get up from the ground to resume training, saying that his father fought bravely even in his worst condition, and he wants to become like him and be able to protect every. Seeing this, Liysia closes the training ground door and tells Ritz and the others that now is not the right time to talk to Aris. Suddenly, a maid arrives and informs them that King Raven has regained consciousness. Everyone is overjoyed, and Russell wants to tell Aris that his father has regained consciousness. However, the maid stops him, saying that King Raven wants to speak to them alone first. In those moments, the three of them entered, and he said to them, "Finally, you have arrived. It seems I have collapsed and caused you trouble once again, my children, but I thank you for your excessive care for me." Everyone looked at him, then thought to themselves, "We have never seen him like this before. Has fainting made him lose his mind?" The Lord understood that they were talking about him and that he was speaking to them very calmly, so he said to them, "I am not speaking to you as your lord now," Ritz asked. "What do you mean by this, my lord?" The Lord Raven said. "What do you think of your lives here?" They looked at each other and said, "It is like paradise compared to our previous lives. This is really like heaven." Then the Lord said to them, "I have summoned you here because there is something I need to tell you. The bitter and difficult truth is that I will not live much longer." Ritz looked at him, very shocked, and said, "Impossible. It can't be true." The Lord replied, "Nothing is impossible, my friend. Lifespans are in the hands of God Almighty, and no one knows what they will gain tomorrow, and no one knows in which land they will die. But I believe I know my body better than anyone else. My body has aged a lot, so please let me say this while I still can." Then he began to speak. "I didn't know what to do with you when Aris first brought you here. You, Ritz, were from the commoners, Charlotte, you were a woman, and you, Russell, were only 5 years old at the time. Yet, all of you have become pillars supporting our region. You are the foundation of this country. I am grateful for your coming to the House of Louvent and proud of you all. But I want to ask a favor of you concerning Aris. He's not strong enough for the battlefield. Assigning leadership to him now is a very harsh matter. Nearing death makes a person realize how many things they have left unfinished. I should have taken him to the battlefield while I was still in good health and taught him the harsh realities of the world while I could still protect him from them. But now it is too late. I beg you, the three of you, to support Aris with all the strength you have. I am not asking you this as your lord, but as a kind and loving father. I may be an emotional father, but he is a good boy and beloved by our people. He also possesses the ability to see the potential in others, as you have proven. He is truly a son to be proud of." Then the Lord begins to cry intensely and says to them, "Please." At that moment, everyone starts crying, sorrow evident on their faces. Russell, still crying, speaks first. "I would have continued facing criticism if it weren't for Aris. Now I will study harder and harder to help my lord Aris, who has given me complete confidence." Then Charlotte, placing her hand on Russell's head, says, "I don't know much about the affairs of the region, but I want to see the future he is trying to achieve. Aris is the one who gave my life meaning. There is no need for you to even ask us to take care of him. We will care for him without you having to tell us, and I will not serve anyone else but him." Ritz then speaks. "I share her sentiment. If anyone threatens my lord Aris, I will fight even if everyone else perishes and I am the last one standing. I will never abandon him. I have sworn to fight for my lord Aris, no matter the outcome." They all salute him, crying intensely. Ritz then asks, "May I make a request, Lord Raven?" All this while, Liysia, Aris's fiancée, stood by the door, crying as she listened to everything. Ritz opens the door and says to her, "Lord Raven wishes to speak with you, Lady Liysia." She enters and everyone else leaves. She salutes him and begins to introduce herself. The Lord says to her, "Do you remember the first time we met?" She looks at him puzzled and says, "Have we met before?" He replies, "Yes, I was the one who arranged your engagement to my son Aris." He begins to recall and says to her, "When I first saw you, I thought you were a very spoiled child, but I quickly realized that your kindness runs very deep. I remember thinking that I wanted someone like you by Aris's side." Raven then tells her the lands of the House of Louvent are very small, and my son may never be relied upon. Liysia, crying, responds, "There is no doubt that your son Aris's kindness may make him seem weak, but he tries with all his might to overcome that, and he will become more like you as he grows." Raven understands that she loves Aris deeply with all her heart and thanks her for standing by him. He then asks her to call Aris. Liysia exits to Ritz and tells him what Lord Raven requested. Russell quickly goes to call him. Meanwhile, Ritz stands still, remembering his lord before he became so ill, and continues to cry over his condition. Then the scene shifts to Raven in his room when Aris enters, very excited because he learned that his father had regained consciousness. He rushes to him and asks about his condition. His father replies that he is fine and then apologizes for summoning him at such a time. Aris says that he has conducted all kinds of research about his illness while he was in the battle, and there are herbal treatments he would like to try. As he heard there is a skilled doctor in a neighboring county, his father interrupts him and tells him that he has matured a lot. When he was his age, he decided to become a warrior for the first time. He was not born in Lambert, but in a remote farming village in the province of Messian, where the lord of that area was a tyrant who imposed merciless taxes, forcing people to live in poverty. Raven couldn't bear it, so he ran away from home and went to the city when he was 10 years old. On the day he arrived, the ruler of Messian happened to be visiting. He wasn't sure of the reason. Perhaps the local lord was hosting a party. His memories of that time are vague, but one thing he remembers clearly is that the governor's majesty and grandeur made his heart beat intensely. At that moment, he decided to become a man like him. He wanted to become a man capable of ruling and leading several soldiers. He learned the sword on his own and became a soldier, fighting with all his might. His actions were recognized by the people, and he was appointed by Lord Lomer. After that, he got his own region. Time flies in the blink of an eye. His followers, his homeland, and his family. Everyone living in Lambert is a treasure from his perspective, as he dedicated his life to protecting them. Raven then starts coughing, and Aris becomes worried about him. His father tells him that he understands very well that Aris feels responsible for his condition, but he is wrong. Raven chose to live this way, and there is no need to feel responsible at all. However, he begs him to take care of everything for him. Aris promises that he will do so, and Raven is happy because he sees a better look on his son's face. He then says that he thinks being his son was a great burden on him. Aris asks him not to say that because he is very happy to be his son. After that, his father asks about Liysia. She is a force to be reckoned with, and it must be her mother's lineage more than Hammond's influence. Aris asked, "Were you friends with Lord Hammond?" His father replied, "Yes. When I was 16 years old, Lord Lomer ordered us to participate in a training battle." Then Aris continued, "We ended up talking all night long." The next morning, Aris's father passes away. Aris speaks to the townspeople, crying, "My father taught me many things and was an amazing man. He spoke with me the night before his death and entrusted me with all of you. I am not as strong as my father, but I swear to care for you more than anyone else, just as he did, and to protect you. So I ask for your help." Everyone cries, and a man speaks up, "I will do anything for you, and we will protect you instead of Lord Raven." Charlotte then remembers when they were in battle. She was fighting with all her might, but Lord Raven spoke to her, saying, "Rest a little, save this effort for when Aris is on the battlefield." Next, we see Russell crying, remembering Lord Raven. One day, Russell was studying late, and Raven asked him, "Why are you staying up so late?" Russell replied, "I wish to be useful to Aris as soon as possible." Raven responded, "You are still just a child. You have plenty of time to grow and mature. Don't pressure yourself too much. Take your time to grow alongside Aris." Liysia also remembers Lord Raven telling her, "Stay close to Aris and support him." She cries as well, saying, "Forgive me if this is an inappropriate feeling, but I am happy to be here now." Aris is overjoyed and thanks them all. Then he says to himself, "I hope you are watching over us, father." After that, he tells everyone that he will be the head of the Louvent family starting today, and the legend of the Louvent family begins now. The scene then shifts to a man saying, "The ruler of Messian was assassinated, killed by his son during a succession dispute." A girl approaches them and says, "I want to hear more about this. Maybe you can buy me a drink now." This concludes today's episode of the anime. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes. So don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell to receive all the latest updates. Our episode today begins with Aris visiting his father Raven's grave. 3 months have passed since his passing, though it feels like just 3 days. Aris is still not entirely accustomed to his sovereign duties, but he manages thanks to everyone's help. At that moment, Ritz calls out to him and checks if he is all right. Aris tells him he is fine, but mentions he was visiting his father, whom he dreams of living up to. He promises to do his best in his own way to become better. Then he leaves the place. The scene now shifts to Canary Castle, where the commander speaks to him, stating that his father was an immense talent and our greatest asset on the battlefield. Commander Luma ordered a minute of silence in his honor. After the minute ends, Commander Luma approaches and places his hand on Aris's shoulder, saying, Aris, the descendant of Raven, inherits his mantle as the leader of the state of Louvent. At that point, Aris speaks, informing them that despite his lack of experience, he is the new lord and will do his utmost to fulfill his role as the head of state. The old man, Krael, responds, Well done, Aris. I certainly see greater confidence in your eyes now, but we will rely on you completely and expect great things from you. Then Commander Luma sits down and tells him, regarding the truce between Lord Karan and Lord Vasmark, Lord Karan, whom we sided with, has successfully rallied a large army. The war has now erupted in full force. Let us explain the situation to you. He then calls on Mines, his right-hand man, to explain in detail what has happened. Mines then speaks, informing them that the capital of the Mysian province is currently occupied by the younger brother, Lord Vasmark. He has more soldiers and resources than we do, but his elder brother controls the trading city of Simpler, giving us an economic advantage. These two cities are roughly equal, meaning the loyalties of the surrounding areas will be a decisive factor. For this reason, Lord Koran is trying to secure the neighboring regions. However, one in the west, Berina, refuses to submit. Berina is a small area with a small army, but the most accessible route to attack Kantei passes through it. In other words, without Berina under our control, we cannot effectively re-establish supply lines to the front, increasing our chances of losing the war. We had hoped to attract them to our side without unnecessary fighting, but their refusal to submit has forced us to take action. Then Lord Luma says, So we will bring Berina under our control. Aris then speaks, saying, Excuse me, sir, but shouldn't we first be allowed to try our own measures in Berina? The old men were surprised as Aris began to intervene. The commander asked, What exactly do you mean? The scene shifts to the past, to Louvent City a few days ago, specifically in the evening, where we see Rossi saying, It seems something is wrong. Charlotte asks him, as does Aris. What is it, wise advisor? Rossi tells them, if they are vulnerable to an attack from our side, why are they holding their ground like this? He points to the map, saying, I think the matter is more complicated than it appears. Ritz responds, I feel the same way. Rossi continues, attacking them without knowing their plan could put us in a very difficult position. I think we need to fully understand the situation first. Aris starts thinking about how to obtain this information. Everyone begins giving their opinions. Ritz suggests, why don't we hire mercenaries, and starts explaining that there is a mercenary group called Shadow that excels in intelligence gathering. Rumor has it they are frighteningly skilled. Aris asks him if he can contact them, and his friend replies that he will try. Rossi interjects with another suggestion. If the council's objective is to subdue Berina, why don't we propose to handle the matter ourselves? Aris tells him he will attempt this when he meets Commander Luma. Back to the present, Aris explains the situation to the commander. He finds it strange that they refuse to surrender despite being surrounded by enemies. Finding the reason behind their stance might shed light on a better approach, Commander Luma responds, All right, Aris, I will give you time to investigate. Aris thanks him for this. The scene shifts outside as Aris and his friends leave the long and nerve-wracking meeting. Ritz tells him, It's over now, Aris. You were brilliant in your talk with the commander. At that moment, a group of boys and young children call out to Charlotte, saying they haven't seen her in a long time. She waves to them, finding it hard to believe how much they have grown. She remembers when they were very young children. They gather around her, and she says, I brought you some smoked and grilled luncheon meat. Go ahead and share it among yourselves. At that moment, the old woman who runs the orphanage calls out to Aris and tells him it has been a long time since he came here, expressing her delight in seeing him. They arrive at the orphanage that Aris had built earlier. He had requested the women there to welcome the children Charlotte was caring for, and to shelter as many orphans as they found in the alleys. Charlotte starts talking to the children who have grown up. One boy tells her he is going to take the test to join Lord Luma's army. A girl says she wants to work as a maid at Canary Castle. Another boy, whose hair covers one eye, says he has a job at the bakery on the main road. The boy with green eyes mentions he loves farming and wants to help on a farm in Lemberg. Aris thanks them for what they have done, acknowledging that they have changed their lives completely. He tells them it wasn't just him. All the credit goes, after God, to his dear friends and also to Charlotte, who sends most of her salary to this place for their sake. The children bid her farewell, and Charlotte says, I initially thought about taking them with me to Lemberg, but leaving them here was the right decision. Although Lemberg is beautiful and a wonderful place to live, Aris believed that living in a big city would provide them with more opportunities. The children should see and learn many things and choose their own lives. At that moment, Aris's fiancé arrives and calls out, Aris, it's been such a long time. He responds, what are you doing here, and what a great surprise this is? She answered that her father accompanied her to Canary Castle, and when she heard that he would be, she decided to come see him. Aris tells her he is very happy to see her too, but he is a bit nervous because she shouldn't have come here. He doesn't know what to do as he wasn't mentally prepared to face her. While they are talking, a little child comes and grabs Liysia's dress, getting it dirty with mud. Aris screams, worried about her, then apologizes and tells her he will buy her a new one immediately. The little child gets scared and tells them they are having fun this way. Liysia takes off her shoes and asks the child if she can join his game, and she runs after him to play with him. After finishing playing with the children, they all go to their room where we see Aris, Liysia, and Russell. Liysia asks her fiancé Aris about his schedule for the next day. He replies that he asked Ritz to connect him with a mercenary group called Shadow. If they agree to meet him, he will make an arrangement with them for a job. Liysia wants to hear more about this group and asks to accompany him. Aris tells her she cannot do that as it might be very dangerous. Liysia pleads with him, saying she would feel safe with him and his entourage, but he is still worried because he doesn't even know if they will meet him. Liysia insists on going with him, trusting Ritz completely. Aris thinks for a moment and then tells her that if they agree to the meeting, he will come to pick her up from her residence. Liysia interrupts him, saying she will stay here with him. Aris is shocked by her words, but then understands the reason for all the luggage with her assistant, Jan. Liysia apologizes profusely, but she has no other means of leaving now. Aris gets very angry and tells her he will prepare a room for her. Liysia asks to stay in their current room, but Aris refuses. Charlotte insists that they all stay in one room. Then we move to the next morning in the room where Aris and his friends are. Ritz arrives and tells them he received a message from Shadow, and they must go to them quickly. Aris and his friends have breakfast, then bid farewell to everyone at the orphanage, thanking them for their hospitality and assuring them they will return. Everyone thanks Charlotte for what she has done, saying they will come back if she returns. Aris and his group then walk, and Aris asks Ritz about the place where they will meet the Shadow members. Ritz replies that they will meet them in a tavern on the outskirts of the city. Aris is very surprised that Ritz managed to reach the Shadow members. Ritz explains that he had contacts through one of his old mercenary group members. He wasn't confident at all, but he is glad it worked out. Aris understands that mercenary organizations sometimes delegate work to other groups due to their different specializations. Ritz's group focused mainly on frontline combat, while Shadow specialized in secret operations, including information gathering, espionage, and sometimes assassination. Aris is very frightened by this, realizing how terrifying these people are. Ritz then mentions one thing that concerns her. He heard that the former leader of Shadow has stepped down and been replaced by a young person. Aris thinks Ritz is worried about the new leader's competence, but Ritz assures him that the new leader is highly capable and Shadow is now stronger than ever. It seems the new leader only accepts jobs that interest them. Aris remarks that they should ensure they pay well, but Ritz explains that payment isn't the issue. There's no way to predict what kind of jobs the new leader will find interesting. Aris understands and hopes their plan succeeds since Lord Luma is relying on him, and he must find a way to convince Shadow to accept the mission. They arrive at the tavern where the Shadow members are. As they enter, they are greeted by some girls who tell young Aris that they have juice here. However, a man interjects, saying they are full for the day and should leave. Aris and his companions enter the establishment. Aris addresses the man, saying, "We are here to meet someone." Ritz adds, "Don't worry, we are here to meet Shadow." The man looks at him and replies, "A table just cleared." Take the one in the back. They all sit at the table, but the people around them give them strange looks. Charlotte comments, "Don't they know it's rude to stare at us like this?" Ritz advises her not to cause any trouble here. Aris, using his appraisal skill, thinks to himself that Shadow specializes in gathering information, and they might be investigating not just their targets but their clients as well, which means their leader could be here watching them. He looks at a girl, his eye color changing, and she asks if something is wrong. He tells her he wants some juice. Aris then goes to the restroom, still surprised by what he has seen. He uses his appraisal skill on Ritz, but it works. and he is shocked by what he sees about these people. Suddenly, a man enters and places a knife to Aris's neck, asking, "How did you know I am the leader of Shadow?" Ritz arrives just in time and saves him. The disguised man says, "I thought you were just a spoiled rich kid, but you managed to summon an assistant I've never seen do that. This is some kind of magic." Liysia intervenes, saying, "You shouldn't underestimate Aris. After this rude behavior, you must accept his request." The leader responds, "What if I refuse? It will be hard for me to do my job if my identity is revealed. I can use all my tricks and kill the rich boy and..." Liysia replies, "I'm afraid you won't have the slightest chance with Ritz here. You'll struggle to escape with your life, although I'm sure you already realized that." The leader then says, "What if I refuse your job as well?" Liysia, now very angry, says, "Earlier, you suggested you would kill Arise. If you do anything like that, I will follow you to the ends of the earth and destroy you." The leader laughs and says, "What a scary little girl you are. But before we continue, answer the question I asked you. How did you know who I am?" "I thought my disguise was perfect." Aris replies, "I have an appraisal skill that allows me to perceive the abilities of others." The leader says he doesn't believe him and asks Aris what he can do to prove it. The leader, calling himself Yamazak, then corrects Aris, saying, "That's not my name. I abandoned it long ago. My name is Fam now. If you can figure out my name, then your power is indeed my worst nightmare. I'm impressed by you and will accept your job. I'd rather not die now." Aris responds, "I'm glad to hear that, but are you sure? I haven't told you anything about the job, and you hardly know anything about me." Fam replies, "I can easily gauge someone's status based on the company they keep. This warrior is very strong, and this girl, who is far more fearsome than her age suggests, seems to hold you in high regard. I should bet on the winning horse. We can talk in the back." Ritz thanks Liysia for what she did. Aris, puzzled, asks, "What did you do?" She explains, "Your facial expressions when you saw our waitress made it clear she was the leader of Shadow. I discussed it with Ritz, and we decided to follow you. I would appreciate it if you always remain this transparent." Aris thanks her for saving his life, thinking to himself that she is incredibly trustworthy, though it's a bit scary. The scene shifts to Fam, who says, "To find out why the district of Perina won't surrender, I can do that. This is my first job for you, so I'll take 1 gold coin as a fee and 3 silver coins as an advance." Aris asks how long the investigation will take. Fam responds, "Meet me here again in 5 days. Don't worry, this kind of information gathering is our specialty." Aris tells him, "I'll be relying on you a lot." And so today's episode of this anime ends. Stay tuned for the upcoming episodes, and don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell to receive all the latest updates. This week's episode begins with Aris and his friends meeting with Fam. Aris asks Fam if he can do it, and Fam replies that this is his first job, so he will only charge 1 gold coin, but he wants to receive 3 silver coins up front. Aris then asks how much time Fam will need to complete the task. Fam asks him to return after 5 days. Aris is surprised by the speed, but Fam tells him that this kind of information gathering is his specialty. The scene then shifts to Charlotte, who is eating a lot of food. Russell advises her to leave some food for others. Aris, his fiancée, and Ritz arrive, and Charlotte asks why they were so late. Liysia tells her that they happened to meet the Shadow Leader by chance, and Aris succeeded in convincing him to accept their request. Russell is annoyed that they did it without him. Suddenly, Fam appears with food and tells them that today's meal is on him. Charlotte thanks him, and Aris looks at Fam, thinking to himself that he wouldn't have guessed Fam was a man if he hadn't seen his statistics. The scene then transitions to Fam in his room, reading a book. Aris and Ritz enter the room, and Aris asks about the rest of the gang members. Fam tells him they are on another important job. Aris then asks who is responsible for investigating his request. Fam tells him that he is the one in charge because the request is so interesting that he took it on personally. Aris uses exploration magic on Fam and realizes that his incredible skills make him a prominent member of the Shadow Group, which explains why he is the leader despite his modest leadership score. Fam then informs Aris that the investigation was very successful. Aris is very happy and thanks him. Fam tells him that the success of this investigation is normal because he handled it personally. Aris asks how it was completed so quickly. Sam smiles and tells him that's a trade secret. He explains why the Barina region will not support Lord Karen and reveals something interesting. He hands Aris a letter, which, upon opening, Aris finds is a contract bearing the signatures and seals of nobles who supported Lord Vasmork, including the signature and seal of Bervina. Ritz notices the emblem of the Massa region and asks Aris where Massa is located. Aris explains that Massa is in the west with a large population and one of the biggest infantry forces on the continent, comparable to the capital Misan and Arkantais. Massa would be a strong ally for any side they support, and fortunately, Massa has chosen Lord Koran just as they have. However, they now see the Massa emblem committing to supporting Lord Vasmok. If this contract is genuine, it means that the Massa region has betrayed them. At this rate, even if they invade Berina, Massa could move, surround them, attack from behind, and defeat them, significantly tipping the scales in favor of Vasmok. It's possible that Berina decided supporting Koran was a losing choice, which explains why they haven't joined. Ritz asks Pham if he can verify the authenticity of the contract. Pham tells him that he won't share his secrets even with trusted friends, but he found the contract in the Berina castle, where the leader resides. He then tells them they can take the contract with them. Aris is delighted because obtaining something this important in such a short time requires incredible skill. When Aris takes out money to give to Pham, Pham tells him to save it. He won't take money as an apology for Aris's previous rudeness, and as an investment for the future, Aris agrees and tells Ritz they must inform Lord Lomer of Massa's betrayal immediately. They leave Pham's room. The scene shifts to Canary Castle, where Aris and his friends meet with Lord Lomer to inform him of Massa's betrayal. Lord Lomer asks if the contract is genuine. Aris tells him he learned this from a very reliable source in the residence of Berina's leader. Lord Lomer says that the leader of Massa highly values Lord Koran. But if this document is genuine, bringing Berina to their side will not be easy at all. Then Lord Lomer orders his assistant Minas to take the document to Torbiksta and Komir immediately. He thanks Aris profusely, as without him, they would have been in a very dangerous situation. Mina, standing behind Lord Lomer, reads the contract and tells them that there is an error in it. The signature and seal of the Massa region are not entirely correct. He asks everyone to follow him as he compares Massa's signature with the genuine one in another contract. Minas explains that the seal of the Massa leader consists of a circle within a hexagon, with a pentagram inside the circle. Comparing the two seals, the new seal looks correct at first glance, but on closer inspection, the circle shape is slightly different, and the hexagon appears slightly smaller. The signatures are similar but have inconsistencies in the handwriting. However, Minas believes the other seals and signatures are genuine, indicating that Massa's seal and signature in this contract are forged. Lord Lomer then says that Berina was deceived into thinking that Massa had betrayed them, leading them to support Lord Vasmork. Everyone is very surprised. Lord Lomer informs them that his assistant Minas has a very strong ability to notice these things and they should trust his words. Iris uses exploration magic to confirm that Minas indeed has such a talent. Then Iris asks why they would use such a lie that would eventually be exposed. Ritz responds that they did it to buy some time. They plan to attack Berina, which will resist any approaching attack, but Berina will inevitably lose against their superior forces. Therefore, all that matters is having Berina on their side. In the meantime, if they don't consider Berina a threat, their real target must be. Lord Lomer interrupts, saying that he knows it is the magic explosive stones that will accomplish this. Aris is greatly shocked by this statement. Lord Lomer explains that these magic stones are very precious and are only found in Misan and 3 other regions across the entire continent of Smurforth. When refined, the magic explosive stones can be used to harness very powerful magic and can be used to create much stronger weapons. Aris understands that Lord Vasmork is targeting Berina to obtain as many of the magical stones as possible, meaning that attacking Berina is not an option right now. Russell says that Berina should be their ally under different circumstances. If they weaken their forces by fighting each other, it means they have fallen into Lord Vasmork's trap. He believes their only option is to tell Berina the truth and ally with them. Everyone understands his point, but Lord Lomer interrupts, stating that if they send many envoys to Berina and all are rejected, they will be at a loss. The next morning, the scene shifts to Berina Castle, where we see Aris talking to the leader of Berina. The leader tells him he will postpone asking how they obtained a copy of their contract and will listen to them now. Aris tells him that since he has read the letter stating that Lambert also wants to join Lord Vasmork, Mesa's defection to the other side was very shocking to them. The leader responds that he was also shocked. Aris continues, saying that the allegiance of a powerful force like Massa will be a decisive factor in the final outcome of the war. Lord Lomer intends to join Lord Vasmork as well after learning this. The leader understands that Aris implies an envoy from the Canary region has also come. However, Aris tells him that for a small region like theirs, supporting the inevitable winner is most important. The leader interrupts, saying he recently heard that Lambert has appointed a new lord who seems to be exceptionally capable for his young age, having managed to steal a highly protected contract. He then tells Aris that there is no need to hide the matter now that it has been revealed. He will speak with Lord Vasmark and gladly accept Lambert's alliance, and he would rely on Aris in the future. Aris tells him he wants to confirm one last thing. Whether the document is genuine or not, the leader responds that he received it personally from Lord Vasmark and can vouch for its authenticity. Aris interrupts and asks about the leader of Massa, as he is known to support Lord Koran. Why would he throw statement? Why would he betray him now? The leader replies that this is a great war, and it is not uncommon for someone to betray their former allies to secure a winning position. Aris tells him that Massa must know that such a betrayal would leave them surrounded and vulnerable. No one understands why the leader of Massa sided with Vasmark despite the risk, and it's too dangerous to believe this without knowing the reason. The leader now realizes that Aris's interest in joining them was just a pretext to meet him. He shouts for his guards and orders them to arrest Aris and his assistant. The guards rush towards Aris, but Ritz knocks them down. Aris says they did not come here to fight but to tell him something important. Before he finishes his sentence, he asks the person standing behind him to remove the mask on his head. When the mask is removed, it is revealed to be the leader of Massa. Aris tells the leader of Berina that he should ask the man himself. Aris recalls when they were in Canary Castle, where Russell suggested they fabricate evidence proving the contract is fake. When they went to the leader of Massa and told him the contract was forged, the leader was very angry, stating he had not signed such a contract. Aris explained that it was forged by Lord Vasmark to deceive Berina. Vasmark wanted to feign a change in allegiance to make Berina accept the falsehood. Therefore, Aris asked him to write a letter condemning the contract as a forgery. The leader of Massa, furious at the forgery, called it a dirty, deceitful tactic, and decided to visit the leader of Berina himself to uncover the truth. Back in the present, the leader of Massa speaks with the leader of Berina, informing him that the contract is a forgery and that he never signed it. He has served Lord Koran from the beginning and will continue to do so until the end. He has never been a traitor. He asks if Berina will continue to support Lord Vasmark and head towards their demise or reconsider their stance. Saddened, the leader of Berina admits that they will support Lord Koran after learning about this betrayal, though they had turned against him for a while. The leader of Berina responds, saying he doubts that Lord Koran will accept them back because they betrayed him for a time. The leader of Massa replies, "Let me tell you something. The Massa region is one of the most densely populated areas in all of Misan. This makes us a powerful region, and I have many people to protect. I will win this war no matter what it takes for their sake. I am sure you feel the same way. You could have discovered that all of this was a trap if you had investigated the matter. I cannot ignore that you were deceived so easily." Aris thought to himself, this is what it takes to lead a large region and rise to this level. The leader of Massa said that it was Aris who brought this matter to his attention, and he would leave the decision to him. Aris, astonished, replied, "I agree that the leader of Berina acted rashly, but everyone makes mistakes. I don't want to exclude someone for just one mistake. That would be naive of me. However, I am glad we resolved this without fighting and can become allies again." The leader of Berina thanked Aris profusely for his compassion, promising to serve to the best of his ability. The leader of Massa responded, saying, "This is the end of our discussion. There is nothing more to talk about." He then asked Aris to go and inform Loma of the developments. Aris thanked the leader of Massa for agreeing to join them, but the leader of Massa replied, "I should be the one thanking you for uncovering the enemy's plot and resolving the matter without bloodshed. It seems Kanari has gained an excellent addition to its leadership, though your acting was a bit stiff." Afterward, we see Aris at his father's grave speaking. The leader of Berina has pledged his support to Lord Loma from now on. It also seems that Lord Vasmark has gained a significant number of the magic explosive stones from the Berina region. He is frighteningly clear. Then, Ritz and Russell approach him, warning that the weather is very cold and suggesting they leave. Aris agrees, saying, "Yes, winter is coming," and thanks them, adding, "We were able to resolve this issue without anyone getting hurt, thanks to both of you." Aris reflects, saying, "I know what I need to do, but it's difficult to accomplish. The leaders of Berina and Massa were desperate to protect their regions and people. I need to become a strong leader like them. Without you both, I would have been powerless to influence the situation. Ritz responds, "We are with you all the time. We will do our best to protect you, no matter who the enemy is. You need to do what you believe is right, just like you did when you forgave the leader of Barina." Then Lord Loma arrives, standing in front of the grave, and says, "I have been delayed in visiting you. Lord Koran wishes to meet with you, Aris." Aris is astonished, saying, "How can a small-time leader like me meet Lord Koran? This is like the head of a village meeting the governor of a province. Surely, a country lord like me does not deserve to meet Lord Koran." Lord Lomer tells him, "I informed Lord Koran about the incident." Aris is overjoyed, saying, "I will try to prepare myself mentally for that day." Iluter, angry, says, "Why are you hesitant? This is your chance to rise. It's a great opportunity to gather all the information from our allies." Aris tells Ritz, "I will gladly take you with me." Thus, today's episode of this anime concludes. Stay tuned for the upcoming episodes. And don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell. Our episode this week begins with Charlotte choosing the clothes she will wear to the party. Her maid enters and tells her that everyone has left and abandoned her. Charlotte screams in anger. The scene then shifts to Ritz and Russell. Russell asks if it is right to leave Charlotte alone at home. Ritz explains that someone must stay to guard the house and that he will bring her a gift later as a token of appreciation. He then looks at Ars and asks if he is okay. We see Ars trembling with fear and sweating profusely. He hadn't expected to receive an invitation from Lord Koran, who might become the next ruler of the Messian region. What does this lord want from a rural lord like Ars? Ritz tells him that Lord Koran has sent invitations to all the nobles and powerful lords from all over Koran and Sembla. Maybe he wants to meet everyone before the war to boost morale. Ars tells himself that he must be careful not to fail. They arrive at the city of Sembla and look at it from the window, marveling at its beauty. The city is situated on top of a hill and is stunning. Ars tells them that they must work hard so that their city, Lamberg, reaches this level of beauty like the city of Sembla. Ritz tells him that today's party is a very rare opportunity for Ars to make a name for himself. The scene then shifts to Sembla Castle, where we see Ars and his friends entering the party. All the attendees are surprised to see a small child like Ars. Ars gets scared because everyone is staring at him. He then sees Lord Lomer surrounded by lords, who tell him that they are proud of him and his deeds. Ars tells himself that Lord Lomer is very influential. Lord Lomer calls Ars over, approaches him, and tells him that he is a lord like everyone else, so he shouldn't be afraid and should be proud of himself and hold his head high. Lord Lomer then introduces Ars to the other lords, telling them that Ars Louvent is the Lord of Lamberg in the Canary District. They welcome him. Then we see one of the guards giving a warning to everyone that Lord Koran is about to enter. Then everyone falls silent as the door opens and Lord Koran enters. Everyone bows before him, but Lord Koran asks them to raise their heads. Ars looks at him and uses exploration magic, amazed by Lord Koran's stats. They certainly befit the ruler of this land. He then thinks to himself that people say Lord Lomer's younger brother, Vasmerk, is even more impressive. But to what extent? There must be other reasons why people support the younger Lord Vasmerk. Could it be that someone wants to bring down Lord Koran? If so, there must be a deep, dark matter. Lord Koran begins to speak, welcoming everyone and thanking them for coming. He tells them he wants to share something. The death of his father has exposed the Messian region to great danger. The source of this danger is his younger brother, Vasmerk, who seeks war to overthrow the rightful heir. Unfortunately, it is unlikely that Semworth will intervene to prevent the disaster, as its power has diminished greatly over the past 200 years and it has failed to perform its duties. Such a decayed rule cannot be revived. It is known that new eras are shaped by destruction and renewal, and a nation that has become a remnant of the past must be destroyed and rebuilt anew. He intends to defeat his brother Vasmerk, take over the Messian region, and establish the nation of Messia. Everyone is astonished by his words. We see Eas very shocked, realizing that Lord Koran wants to declare independence. Lord Koran continues his speech, saying that winning the war and establishing a nation is much easier said than done, but it will become easier with all the people filling these rooms. He trusts in their talents and is proud of them. He knows that there is nothing they cannot achieve if they work together. I know there is nothing we cannot achieve if we work together. Then he raises his hand and asks, "Will you join me in achieving victory?" Everyone agrees. Now he wants to introduce someone who has accomplished something remarkable recently. This person is Ars Louvent, Lord of the city of Lamberg. come forward, Ars. Ars is surprised, but Ritz pushes him forward. He begins to introduce himself, expressing his happiness and honor to meet King Koran in person. King Koran calls him over, saying, "Come, Ars, stand beside me so everyone can see you." King Koran starts telling them about a recent incident. In an act that reveals his brother Vasmerk's cowardice, Vasmerk created a fake contract to annex the province of Perina to his side. However, Ars discovered Vasmerk's deception and peacefully brought Perina back to their side. Everyone is astonished, asking how a child could have the intelligence to do this. King Koran tells them intelligence is not a matter of age. This child did what we couldn't do. What matters are the accomplishments. I want you to give him a big round of applause. Everyone applauds warmly. Ars thanks them for the warm reception. After that, the banquet begins. We see Ritz taking some meat to give to Ars because he has spent so much time meeting people and hasn't eaten anything yet, looking very hungry. Ritz calls him, saying it's time to eat, but Ars seems lost in thought and tells him he will go outside to get some fresh air. He goes out to the large balcony, admiring the beauty of the night and the shores. Ars starts thinking that the work of a lord is not limited to protecting his lands, but also involves being sociable. At that moment, King Koran comes and asks him, "What's the matter? You look very gloomy." Ars is startled and takes 2 steps back out of fear, but the king tells him that he wanted to talk to him face to face and in private. He had heard that Ars gathers talented followers and accomplishes remarkable feats, and it is rare to hear Lomer praise anyone. "You are truly a talented man," King Koran says. However, Ars tells him that he is not talented on his own. His followers are the amazing ones, and the reason for his success is consultation. He consults everyone before making any decisions. Koran asks him what he thinks of the men he prides himself on, referring to his own men and followers. Ars thinks to himself and remembers that he evaluated them all a little while ago, but none of them stood out to him. What should he say to King Koran? He decides to tell him the truth but apologizes beforehand, saying that he didn't see any particularly outstanding talent among them. The king asks him, "Do you mean that your followers are more talented than mine?" Ars replies, "Yes, they are." King Koran looks at him, then laughs heartedly and tells him that he likes his honesty very much. "But you are right. I know my men are good, loyal, and enthusiastic, but they seem to lack talent. Hearing this from you confirms it. It may be difficult to win the upcoming battle with these men alone, but we have no other." Ars ask, "What do you mean, Your Majesty?" King Koran begins to explain. "The other side has a large number of intelligent individuals. We have the strongest and wealthiest army, but strength and money are not everything. I was very pleased to hear that you won the last battle, so I have high hopes for you. You have a bright future. Ask. If your performance is excellent and we win the next war, I will make you the Chief of Canary. It's natural to be rewarded for your achievements." Piers couldn't believe what he was hearing and says, What? Will I be the Chief of Canary, that great land? What are you talking about? What about Lord Lomer?" The king replies, "I have been planning to grant him a larger region for a while." "He is one of the few followers I trust," Koran continued. He then told Ars that he relies on him and asked him to bring his followers. Ars replied that they are very important to him and that he cannot give them up, not even for him. Lord Koran responded that he expected Ars to say that. He then asked Ars to participate in the upcoming war council with his followers, as he wanted to hear their opinions. Additionally, he wanted Ars to use his eyes to help him find talented individuals. Koran then left, and Ars decided to give his utmost effort because Lord Koran was relying on him. He wanted to live up to Koran's expectations. The scene then shifts to Kantei's castle, where we see Vasmerk and his men. One of his men, Thomas, informs him that someone had thwarted their plot in Perina. He apologizes for not being able to make Koran's forces turn against each other, but it wasn't a significant loss. Remus adds that they managed to obtain more magical stones from Perina than expected, and they would not be a match even if war broke out now. It seems they lack talented leaders except for Lord Koran himself, and although they have more officers and infantry, the likelihood of defeat is minimal. Vasmerk becomes slightly irritated by this, stating that he will not fight unless victory is assured. He needs the chance of winning to be 100. He then asks Thomas about Mirai, but Thomas does not know her whereabouts, suggesting she might be drinking herself to death. Vasmerk says he will overlook her past because he wants her by his side. Everyone is surprised that he wants to make that wretched addict one of his followers. The following morning, we see Ars with his friends. He tells them that they have been invited to Koran's war council. It seems Koran wants them to attend his strategic meetings because he asked Ars to find talented individuals for him. However, Ars does not know an effective way to search for talented people, so he asks Ritz if he knows any method. Ritz suggests asking Shadow Fam, as they might have relevant intelligence. Indeed, Ars goes with Ritz to the tavern to search for talented individuals. The girl there tells him that she can go with him to find talented people. She asks if there would be any punishment if she chooses someone unworthy. Ars reassures her that there will be no punishment, but he will add 20 gold coins if she finds a talented person. This job is very easy and wonderful, but he asks her to do her best to find a good person. The girl decides to bring him only the best. After that, Ars heads home, and the girl bumps into him on the street, causing him to fall to the ground. Ritz quickly checks on Ars to make sure he is okay, then scolds the masked girl, telling her that bumping into Lord Ars is unforgivable. The masked girl goes to the tavern where Ars had been. The worker there tells her that they have not opened yet. The masked girl says she did not come to eat. She wants to work there. At that moment, the tavern owner recognizes her as Miri and asks what she is doing there. Miri does not remember him and asks how he knows her. He explains that they used to see each other often in the tavern when he lived in the countryside. They were drinking friends. Miri tells him that she is currently homeless and broke, and she asks if she can work there for food and shelter. The tavern owner refuses because she owes him a large number of drinks. Miri begs him, saying she will die in the streets at this rate. At this moment, Fam, using the girl's voice, intervenes and says, "I want you to join us because I need more people to help." The tavern owner responds there's no good in hiring this girl. "What are you thinking?" Fam reassures him. "Don't worry, leave it to me, Fam." Disguised as the girl, talks to Miri and introduces herself as Lin, saying she wants to work with her. Miri is overjoyed. Later, we see Miri working in the restaurant, but some customers become angry with her because she gives them the wrong orders. The tavern owner scolds her, saying, "You haven't done anything but fail. You'll get your free meals after you complete your work properly." Lin also asks if she can eat with them. During their meal, Lin talks to Miri, asking how she earned her living before. Miri replies that she is a traveler, taking odd jobs and looking for delicious drinks. But it's not wise to pry into a lady's past for your job. "I'll tell you a little because you're nice," Miri adds. She explains that she has a younger brother who is very stupid. They both served an old man, but she heard he passed away. Lin asks what kind of man he was. Miri replies, "We were poor, but he believed in us. His name was Amador." The tavern owner is astonished and says, "Amador was the ruler of Messine." Miri said, "Who wants to stay in the same place forever? I always end up feeling bored and withdrawing. I became a broke wanderer, but I get to enjoy all kinds of local foods because it's so much fun." Then Lin told her, "What if I told you? I know a better job for you than this." The scene then shifts to Ars and his friends, where he holds a message and says, "Fam has found an excellent candidate, and she will be coming today." A servant comes in and tells Ars there is a visitor inquiring about a job at the Louvent house. Ars goes to meet her and is very surprised to see that it's Miri. He recognizes her from their accidental encounter in the city. Miri says, "I don't remember you at all. You're just a small boy, but this place seems fun. I want to work here." Ars thinks to himself, even if Fam brought her, could she really be the one? I should check her first. He uses his skills to evaluate her and is astonished by her abilities and strength, realizing that she is incredibly powerful. He thinks she's a beast. Thus ends today's episode of this anime. Stay tuned for the upcoming episodes, and don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell to receive all the latest updates. Aya steps back, calling her a monster, and sees that Mii's command and prowess values are very high, and her intelligence is greater than even Rose on top of that. Her ambition is at 100, which is way above even Liysia. Ars can only keep staring at Mii with his mouth wide open, and she simply asks him if he will hire her or not, as Ars confirms her full legal name. Ray is shocked because that is the name of the advisor of the former. Duke Morera confirms that she is the same person, and Cha remarks that she is impressive. Ars still can't comprehend why the advisor of the former Duke would be here when Rose suddenly tugs on his shirt. He seems cautious of Mii, and even Rai believes that Ars should not make her his vassal. He believes that she is a notorious person because she was deported, not only that her younger brother Thomas is the right-hand man of Besa, so she is too closely connected with their enemies. He believes that there is a good chance that Mi is working for the enemies, and Az begins sweating as he starts thinking that she might be a spy. However, Mira laughs and claims that her little brother is stupid and she won't cooperate with him. Ray tells her to shut up and then asks Ars to send the woman away. Ars keeps staring at Mira and Fam, and then he finally decides to accept Mira as his subordinate. Both Rai and Rose are shocked by his decision, but he confidently tells them that Mi has great abilities. He wants to trust that her high ambition does not make her an enemy, because her other abilities are so high that he is willing to take a risk. Miera feels a bit embarrassed that Ars trusts her, and he manages to convince his subordinates to accept her into the team. After a couple of days, Rai rushes into his office with a complaint about Mavera. She slept till noon instead of doing her duties and kept drinking while others trained when they confronted her. She told them that it was not a big deal and resumed. Drinking Rai is furious at her, and he clearly tells Ars that he made a mistake when he picked her for the job. Just then, Rose also comes running into the office. He is on the verge of crying and says that he doesn't want to study with Mia any longer. He says that instead of teaching him anything, she made him run and even sent a flying dog to chase after him, while she kept drinking in the corner. Rose cries, saying that exercising makes no sense for a thinker like him, and asks Ars to send Mirror packing. Suddenly, the entire mansion is rocked by an explosion in the distance. Everyone is thrown into panic, and they rush outside preparing for an enemy invasion. However, it turns out to be the work of Char, who has blasted a hole in the middle of the mansion pathway with Mie coaxing. Her chair seems to be getting along very well with Mi, and that creates another headache for Ars. He tries being optimistic about it by saying that at least it was not an enemy attack, but the other people of the mansion don't agree with him. The soldiers and servants have complaints about Mia's behavior that causes nothing but problems for them. She replies that this is who she is and changing. Herself right now would be too hard for her. She turns to Ars to give his statement as he is the boss, and he tells her that she should try her best to work with everyone, or he will have to think about their complaints seriously. Mira is troubled by this because she doesn't want to leave this place, and that confuses Ars. He wonders what reason could Mi have to stay in a place where no one seems to like her. She tells him that after the late Duke, he is the only person to have accepted her so fully. However, she realizes that it is not enough and she must get others to accept her as well. So she proposes a mock battle because she is more effective on the battlefield than on the training ground. Ars says that it is too sudden, but Rai and others are raging to take up her challenge. Well, Az has no choice but to accept the arrangement, and on the day of the mock battle he finds Liysia in the house as well. He had written about me and the mock battle in his letters, and Licia's curiosity brought her here to see it. Mira says that she has heard a lot about the cute fiancé, and Liysia replies that she has also heard a lot about the idle drunk strategist. From her fiancé's letter, Ars tries to clear things with Mira that he wasn't bad-mouthing her, but she doesn't even mind. She hugs him tightly while flirting with him, and Liysia gives him a smile. That clearly says that he is screwed. The flustered heiress somehow starts explaining the rules of the mock battle. There are 2 teams with 50 soldiers each, and they will engage in a battle in the forest till the sun sets. They will use blunt wooden swords to fight and defeat the other side, and whoever defeats more soldiers at the end will win. Capturing the enemy leader or defeating all enemy soldiers will mean an instant victory. Ars tells everyone that if they get hit in the chest or head, it will count as a fatal strike and they should stop moving. Then he also prohibits Cha from using fire magic in. Instead, he gives her magic potions with light and sound magic properties and tells her to use them wisely. After that, it is time for the division of teams, and everyone wants to be on the opposite team. As Mi, they even decide to send the newbies to her team, so that she loses and is fired. Ars is worried now, but Mira is not even fazed in the slightest and says that everything will work out. This pisses off everyone else, and their opinion of Mi goes even lower, and Ars realizes that it may have been a foolish decision to agree to this mock battle. Soon, the preparations for the mock battle are complete, and the 2 teams enter the forest while the spectators cheer them on from neutral ground. Ray leads. One team with Sha Rose and the experienced soldiers. Rai believes that the strength of their family comes from unity, and it is better to remove people like Mia who harm that unity. Char, on the other hand, believes that Mi is quite amazing. Rose has completely different reasons to reject her. He feels that Liysia and Char are already overbearing enough, and adding Mira to the mix would be disastrous. The second team has Ars as their leader, and he fails to motivate his soldiers in Mi's presence. As always, Mi doesn't worry about anything. Instead, she praises the talents of Rei and Chair and asks Ars, how did he manage to find people like them? Ars says that it just happened and they should focus on how to beat them right. Maya believes that it is impossible to do so with the newbies in their team, and everyone gets irritated by her words, especially because they know she is speaking. The Trios tries to stop her from lowering everyone's morale. But Mirera assures him that, despite the shortcomings of their troops, they will win this battle. Her vibe suddenly changes as she claims that they can use the inexperienced soldiers as a weapon that will take the enemy by surprise soon. The battle begins and Team Ars begins marching towards Team Rei Rose, informs him that they have set up traps in the way, and as soon as the enemy troops come in contact with them, they can locate them. After that, Rai addresses the troops and says that the enemy team won't be able to defeat them using normal tactics, so they may try to use surprise attacks to throw them off. Therefore, he is going to use the most basic strategy to attack them head-on. He decides to separate his team into 2 units. They will march ahead with some distance between them, and if the second unit led by Rose is attacked by the enemies, he should use the sound magic to call the first team to his aid. This way they can use their superior abilities and experience to defeat them quickly. He gives his troops a pep talk and then begins leading them. And just then someone steps on the trap they laid out and alerts them Rei leads some troops to the direction of the trap and finds a newbie wizard from the other team there. The wizard is here to surrender and join his team instead and offers to reveal Mia's strategy in exchange for accepting him. Mia has guessed that Rai has divided his troops into 2 and she plans to use it to her advantage. First, she will create some ruckus by saying that real enemies have attacked them, and by doing this she will lead Rai and others into a trap. Then she would use her full force to defeat the remaining soldiers of his team, along with the commanders. By doing this, she would ensure that they win while keeping the casualties low. The wizard asks Rai to accept him into his team now, but he refuses. He believes that no matter how skilled Mia is at convincing others, Ars won't agree to such a stupid plan. The wizard immediately changes his tone and tells Rei that he is completely right. In fact, Mira sent him here on purpose to give this fake information to him, but he just can't stand her. He knows that it is wrong to betray a fellow soldier, but he believes that is for the sake of Lord Ars. That is why he is going to tell Rai about Mia's real battle plan. The wizard tells them that Mia plans to trap them in a certain location and then launch an attack on them from both sides. He asks Rai to come to the location and pretend to be caught in a trap. The wizard has to use sound magic to inform Mia that the plan was successful, but if he doesn't do that, Rei can change the game from there. Rei accepts the sincerity of the wizard and his suggestions and asks the wizard to hand over his staff. As a precaution, as soon as the wizard does it, Rai orders the soldiers to arrest him, and they find another staff hidden in his cloak. Rai gives him a death stare and forces the wizard to reveal his true plan. But he was going to trick Rei's team into coming to the designated location and then use the second staff to alert his allies so that they could take him by surprise. Now that he cannot do that, Rei decides to use this chance to go behind the enemy troops and finish them off with a quick surprise attack. He leads the troops behind ours and the team very quickly, and then tells everyone to get into pause position as they spot them on his command. His troops launch a surprise attack on the standing enemy troops, but they are hit with a Grand Uno reverse because they were just armors hanging on sticks. Mia and Ars are there, and she commends the wizard for his Oscar-worthy acting skills. She mocks Rei, saying that he is so logical that predicting what he thinks is super easy. However, he thinks that this is a great chance for him to capture Ars as the commander of the enemy forces and end. The battle quickly just puts Ars on her back and starts running away, and Rei commands everyone to chase after them. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe for part 12, and make sure to check out this brand new anime about a lonely orphan who marries his childhood crush and starts training to become Our final episode of this amazing anime begins with Marie carrying Aris on her back, running away from Ritz and the army. Aris tells her he's very scared because they might get caught. Ritz then tells the army that they'll be rewarded if they catch Miri. We then see some soldiers getting very close to Miri and Aris screams in fear. Suddenly, the soldiers fall to the ground because of the traps Miri had set earlier. Some other soldiers get caught in a fishing net, allowing Miri and Aris to escape. Aris talks to himself, saying he hasn't seen a real trap like this since Russell's trap, and he is very impressed. Then, we see Ritz and the remaining soldiers continuing to chase Miri and Aris. Miri tells Aris that it's time for his task. Aris then takes out 3 explosive devices and throws them at Ritz and the soldiers, causing an explosion nearby that affects their hearing, making it difficult for them to hear. Ritz searches for Miri and finds her running away. He starts chasing her, and we see Aris looking very terrified. Next, we see Princess Liysia, Aris's fiancée, and the rest of the family watching from afar. Liysia expresses her anger over Miri carrying Aris on her back and shouts very loudly, "Run, Ritz, and beat Miri." Then we see Aris's siblings talking, and Ritz asks his sister Rin about their brother Aris's soldier. The scene then shifts to Charlotte and Russell with their soldiers in the forest. Charlotte says that they are getting further apart than they had planned and need to hurry and catch up with them. Russell refuses, telling her that the rush could be due to an emergency and they should stay away from Ritz's unit for now. Suddenly, some enemy army soldiers appear from behind the plants, and their commander tells them to fire the signal to let everyone know they've found Russell. The soldier fires the signal, and when Russell looks at them, he realizes that this army is only half of the main force. And he wonders if Ritz is taking care of the rest. And if so, there is no hope for reinforcements. Russell then orders his army to attack the enemy forces. One of the enemy soldiers says to him, "It's true. We can't defeat you face to face as Miri said." The soldier remembers Miri telling them that they are very weak against Aris's army, but to defeat them, they need a precise plan. Back in the present, we suddenly see the rest of the enemy soldiers surrounding Russell and his army. Russell and his forces are very alarmed, and the battle between the two armies begins. The scene shifts to Miri, who tells Aris while running that, knowing Russell and Ritz's personalities, they are likely to split up. She will lure Ritz and his men, while her army targets Russell and his forces. Returning to the battlefield, we see Charlotte grabbing Russell and running away. Some enemy soldiers chase after them to capture them. Charlotte stops and uses an explosive device, causing a blast. Aris and Miri hear the explosion, and Miri realizes that it was Charlotte's doing, and now she can determine Russell's location. Aris tells her he doesn't care about that and is very scared now because Ritz is still chasing them. We then see Ritz talking to himself and realizing that the explosion must be from Russell's unit and that they have widened the distance between them considerably. Returning to Russell, we see him terrified because Charlotte was also affected by the explosion and is unable to move like the enemy soldiers. Some soldiers chase Russell, who runs away, calling out Ritz's name, deciding to head towards his location. The scene shifts to Liysia, Aris's fiancée, talking to herself. She says that Miri had been targeting Russell from the beginning, and her goal was not to provoke Ritz and separate the veteran soldiers but something else. She then tells Aris's fiancé, "It seems the battle is decided. Let's go see its end ourselves now." The scene shifts to Ritz, who is running at full speed, saying, "I won't let you reach Russell." He seems to have finally understood the situation. At that moment, Miri tells Aris, "Hold on tight because we're going to run at our maximum speed. It's time for the final push." But Ritz was faster than they anticipated. Ritz then recalls the events that occurred when he first met his Lord Aris. From that day, he stayed by his side to repay the kindness Aris had shown him. As Aris never cared about his race or Ritz decided to wield his sword to fulfill Aris's dreams so that he could always stay by his side. Therefore, he couldn't afford to lose to someone like Miri. Ritz gets very angry and accelerates at an incredible speed. Aris is very scared, saying, "Both of them are so fast. What should we do now? I feel dizzy." Finally, Russell encounters them while running at full speed. Ritz shouts to him, "Don't stop, Russell. I'm about to take down Miri." Aris then throws 3 flashbangs, but they don't affect Ritz at all and don't slow him down. Instead, his determination to catch up with them increases. He raises his wooden sword and says, "Forgive me, Aris, but at the last moment, Aris throws the remaining bomb." Everyone eagerly waits to see what happens next. When the misty aura clears, they find Ritz pointing his sword at Aris, while Miri has her sword aimed at Russell's head. She is closer to victory. Ritz is furious for losing the match. Aris looks at Miri and says, "She cares a lot about winning despite our weaker position. But it's no wonder. She was the advisor to the late ruler of Mission. She is truly amazing." We then see Russell apologizing to Ritz, but Ritz tells him, "It's okay, my boy. It's my fault for failing to stop her." The scene then shifts to dusk when Aris announces the result. The victory belonged to Miri's team. Everyone on her team was very happy, while the others were very sad and couldn't believe it. They said, "All this is because of dirty tricks. We would have won if it was a fair fight." Ritz then tells them, What are you talking about? In battle, there is no such thing as dirty or fair. We can do anything because war is deceit. If we truly had the real strength, we wouldn't have the right to complain at all. We must accept the result simply. Russell agreed, saying, "Yes, I see your point, Ritz. Although it's difficult for you to accept Miri's methods, she led us to victory, and that's what matters. Not everyone can do that." It was very challenging. He then bowed to them and apologized for not being able to lead them to victory. "I have much to learn, and I can learn from Miri too," he added. Turning to Mai, he called at Miri, "We must accept defeat, unfortunately. This is true sportsmanship. We can learn from everyone, whether they are young or old, and we should always consult others in our affairs because consultation generates great and wonderful ideas." Ritz called out to Miri and congratulated her on her victory, acknowledging her brilliance. He then apologized for his rudeness, admitting that they must accept defeat. Russell added that he now understood why she made him run, promising to do his best and asking her to continue teaching him and the soldiers. Miri responded by praising their efforts, saying she never expected Ritz to get so close to catching them. She mentioned that if Charlotte had unleashed her full potential, they wouldn't have had a chance to win. Russell apologized for his actions, saying he could only run. Miri asked if avoiding Ritz's unit during the movement was his decision, and he confirmed it was. She tried to lighten the mood, joking that she knew he was smart, which is why they survived by a miracle. She predicted they were in for some exciting times. Miri then spoke to Aris, praising him for having such amazing followers. "You are the lord of an isolated region. Yet you gather all these strong children," she said, asking about his plans. Aris replied that initially, he wanted to create a strong region capable of surviving the war. But now he just wants to create a place where children can live happily. He expressed his preference for avoiding war altogether. Miri told him she believed he would make a great king, which surprised Aris greatly as she meant he should become an emperor. Miri decided to help him start on that path. Aris, embracing the role of emperor, announced to everyone that he was the emperor. This reminded him of his father, who was worried about Aris's future in the upcoming chaotic era. However, he knows he will become a great and powerful man, possibly even the emperor. Afterwards, the celebration for Miri's victory begins. Everyone is in high spirits, eating and drinking to their heart's content. Miri addresses her men, telling them they still have a long way to go to become stronger. Everyone is impressed with her strength and endurance, especially her ability to drink so many juices. They ask her to teach them more about endurance because they want to become stronger. She responds that she won't train them again because Ritz's instructions and training regimen are excellent. She had nothing more to add, and they are already much stronger than ordinary soldiers. One of the soldiers asks why she didn't tell them this from the beginning. She replies that the point was to show that she is nothing compared to Ritz. Miri then tells Charlotte, "I want you to cast spells behind Russell as he runs. That way, you'll have to keep up the pace." The scene then shifts to Liysia and Aris. Liysia says to him, "It's clear that Miri is an impressive talent, but I succumbed to jealousy and acted shamefully in front of you. She has carved out a place for herself here." Ritz arrives and, looking sad, apologizes, saying, "Even though it was just a training battle, I lost. I failed to meet your expectations. I swore to Lord Raven that I would stay by your side and support you. I feel deeply saddened. I will intensify my training to improve." Aris looks at Ritz with understanding and replies, "Ritz, your dedication means more to me than victory in a single training match. You've always been a loyal and strong supporter. We all have room to grow, and this experience will make us better. Let's keep pushing forward together." Ritz, reassured by Aris's words, nods and vows to train harder, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. Meanwhile, the celebration continues, with everyone enjoying the moment. Miri's strength and resilience become a source of inspiration for all, and her humility in recognizing Ritz's capabilities endears her even more to the group. The bonds among them grow stronger as they prepare for the challenges ahead, knowing that together they can achieve greatness. Aris reassured Ritz that his confidence in him hadn't diminished, and that he looked forward to continuing to work with him. Then they turned their attention to Miri. Aris asked Ritz, "So, what do you think about what Miri said regarding me becoming an emperor?" Ritz responded, "I think it's a significant statement, but it didn't surprise me. I completely agree with her. Aris was astonished by Ritz's response and said, "If I said I wanted a world without war and aimed to become the ruler of these lands to achieve that, how would you react?" Ritz replied, "I would accompany you all the way there." Aris thanked Ritz for his support. The next morning, everyone is seen training, and Aris watches them from the balcony, feeling very happy. A maid enters and gives him a letter. Aris says it's from Lord Koran. He's summoning us again. He wants us to participate in his war council and requests that Miri accompany us to assist in everything. Miri agreed and then added, "But I want to take Russell with us." Aris replied, "Yes, I rely on all of you." They responded, "We will do our best to help you." Aris then said, "Let's get ready to set off." And so, the final episode of this wonderful anime concludes. Stay tuned for new anime adventures. Don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell to receive all the latest updates.